Chapter 12-14, Tragic. Chapter 12-14, Tragic. Jian Wushang, like I said, you have no chance, Gumu King growled. Impressive, Jian Wushuang said, looking surprised. Let's do it together, Gumu King gave an order coldly. The four peak universe masters around him started right away. Gumu King waved her silk ribbon, which attacked Jian Wushuang like a snake. Mo King waved the heavy sword, which was huge enough to cover half of the void. Donglong King looked cold and rushed out, like a flash of lightning. His hands suddenly turned into a dragon's claw and came down. Tianqin King waved his long stick. All of them were straining as hard as they could. Get out of the way! Jian Wushuang shouted, panicking. With cold eyes, Jian Wushuang burst out with sword essence. The whole world abruptly turned dark. Sword light struck like the first light of morning dawn. Bang! It crushed all the moves of the four peak universe masters in a flash. What? Said Gumu King. Our joint offensive was smashed in a twinkling? Asked Mo King. No wonder he defeated Long Su King, cried Donglong King. The four peak universe masters spoke in wonderment. After smashing their offensive, the stroke of dawn remained powerful and rushed directly at Gumu King. Whoosh! Someone rushed and stood in front of her. Tianqin King. Gumu King's eyes lit up. Leave it to me. Tianqin King said with a somber look. Suddenly, a golden halo appeared, forming a golden bell over Tianqin King. Another golden bell inside him began to shudder like crazy, bursting out with a dazzling, golden light. Clang! The stroke of dawn hit the golden bell. Its golden halo faded, but returned back to normal after a few minutes. Jian Wushuang asked in confusion, slightly changing his expression. I didn't expect them to have such a protection treasure. This is a problem, he thought to himself. In one-on-one fights, Jian Wushuang was confident he could beat and even kill them. Unexpectedly, they attacked him together, however. They were good at attacking, tying, rushing, and offending, respectively. They cooperated with each other in perfect unison. Even Jian Wushuang found it hard to beat them quickly. What was worse, they were determined to hold him up so that he could not get away. Well, then I have do this, thought Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang squinted and trembled. Soon the second original body appeared out of nowhere, followed by Gu King, who rushed over to help. He headed directly for other battlefields. That's a doppelganger, they said in unison, all shocked. Indeed. We four managed to stop him with some effort. I don't think it's possible to stop his doppelganger at the same time, though, Mo King said in a low voice. Normally, a doppelganger has a weaker battle strength than the original body. All we need to do is to stop him. Leave the doppelganger to the others, Gumu King said seriously, and then added, let's go. Swoosh! Again, the four peak universe masters rushed towards Jian Wushuang. His first original body also went up. The first original body was stopped. However, his second original body was still fighting on the battlefield freely. Without the blood-killing armor, the second original body was stronger than ordinary peak universe masters, but not as strong as supreme ones. The cooperation of Gu King still enabled him to fight in every direction on the battlefield. However, he failed to fight as fiercely as he had before. On the large battlefield, the experts from the two camps fought at close quarters. The battle reached a white-hot stage. Jian Wushuang had worked with Gu King to kill more than 400 holy masters in one stroke. Besides that, many other experts were slaughtered by him. The Gold Kingdom was absolutely terrified. When Jian Wushuang's first original body was stopped, the Gold Kingdom gradually recovered from the shock. Afterwards, the difference in overall strength between two camps was revealed. Even if more than 400 holy master had been killed, the remaining holy masters of the Gold Kingdom were not inferior to those of the Green Fire world. Their universe masters were still stronger. As the killing got more and more fierce, the Gold Kingdom looked more and more advanced. "Come on and kill them!" Hongxue King shouted. Hongxue King laughed and pierced his long spear through the void mercilessly. Blood-speckled snow fell when his spear upon a large, green dragon tactical formation and pierced through its vast body smoothly. Boom! The giant green dragon fell apart. Thousands of Dao masters, who formed the tactical formation, suddenly scattered and ran in fear. The Red Snow King pierced again, unleashing horrible power that killed almost half of them. Only a few Dao masters managed to flee. They desperately fled towards the battle fortress. Unfortunately, few of them succeeded to enter. A tactical formation could be very powerful, enabling holy masters to fight powerfully. There was, however, a fatal flaw. As soon as a tactical formation broke down, the holy masters could not quickly reform again. They could do nothing, except be slaughtered. Ever since the war had begun, the holy masters of the Green Fire world had formed thousands of tactical formations. Now, a third of them had broken down. Over 80% of the holy masters involved had been killed mercilessly. Without the tactical formation, the holy masters may easily be killed unintentionally, even if they weren't targeted. Tragic. It was tragic for the entire battlefield. Experts from both sides were crazy. "Aha, they're worn out. Go and kill them," shouted the Red Snow King. The roaring of the Red Snow King reverberated over the sky. The experts on his side also roared, which boosted their morale. On the contrary, the Green Fire world seemed to be defeated. "All right, time to retreat," said a master from the Green Fire world. Samsara Temple Master watched this coldly. He gave an order. "Retreat," he shouted. Back to the battle fortress, he continued. At his command, experts of the Green Fire world, including large tactical formations, immediately left their opponents and returned to the hold of the battle fortress at an amazing pace. The two original bodies of Jian Wushuang also turned and left. Chapter 12:15, broke out. Chapter 12:15, broke out. "Run! Can you?" shouted Samsara Temple Master. "Let no one leave. Go and kill all of them," screamed the Red Snow King. Red Snow King went into hysterics. Other experts of the Gold Kingdom growled and hunted enemies down with scarlet faces. They realized that the Green Fire world was now retreating. They could catch them with a blow, like hitting a drowning dog. In the camp of the Gold Kingdom, the experts were in a serious rage, filled with killing intent. The experts of the Green Fire world were fleeing. Samsara Temple Master looked cold, but he remained calm. He glanced at the enemies frantically hunting his experts, and his eyes gleamed in amazement. "Your Highness, they're now inside the attack range of Divine Rays of the North," Palace Master Yun reported. "The Palace Masters and the Masters in the battle fortress have been fully prepared," he continued. "Good. Stay for my order," Samsara Temple Master said. "Yes," Palace Master Yun replied. "Red Lotus, are you ready?" Samsara Temple Master asked through a message. "Yes. With the help of 3 7-star soul-seizing cores, I will unleash the greatest power freely," Red Lotus replied. "Great," Samsara Temple Master praised, his eyes gleaming. Having hesitated for a while, he took out the message token for Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, can you do the old trick again?" he asked. "The old trick?" Jian Wushuang asked. Obviously, he knew what Samsara Temple Master meant. "Jian Wushuang, tell him yes." "You can do it again," Gu King said to him. "Yes," Jian Wushuang immediately replied to Samsara Temple Master. "Yes?" Samsara Temple Master was amazed. "Great. Do it at my command," he said. "Okay," Jian Wushuang replied and nodded. "Everything is ready. Now we're just waiting for the enemies," Samsara Temple Master said excitedly. In the battle fortress, the remaining dozen palace masters and thousands of holy masters gathered under the restriction. Among them were Emperor Shao, Emperor Yun and his senior brother Shui Lingtian, all acquaintances of Jian Wushuang. They waited quietly, but they could not help roaring on the inside. This was where they had been staying since the war had begun. They watched everything, but none of them made a move. They kept waiting, saving up their strength for the final stroke. On the battlefield, experts of the Green Fire world were fleeing in chaos, chased by those of the Gold Kingdom. As they ran, they came closer to the battle fortress. 30,000 miles. 24,000 miles. 15,000 miles. Soon, the experts of the Gold Kingdom were less than 3,000 miles away from the battle fortress. Even an ordinary Dao master could cover 3,000 miles in a second. The experts inside the battle fortress could easily dash out in a flash when the enemies had almost no time to resist. It was perfect timing. Go! Samsara Temple Master ordered. As Samsara Temple Master shouted, he gave the order to Palace Master Yun as well as the Palace Masters and the Holy Masters who were waiting in the battle fortress. This order also went to Palace Master Red Lotus and Jian Wushuang. When the order arrived on the battlefield, Red Lotus swallowed an aquamarine elixir. Her robe and hair floated, giving out a horrible aura. The scarlet bracelet she had been wearing also glowed brightly. A giant blood river raged out from it. Splash! The blood river rose in a tide surging directly towards the battlefield and covered thousands of miles. Everyone on the battlefield was covered by the blood river. Jiu Realm, press, shouted Red Lotus. The horrible pressure, like from a bomb, burst out immediately. Experts of the Gold Kingdom, who had been on the chase, suddenly stopped, as if stuck in a quagmire. Both their speed and power were suddenly hindered. What? They cried out. It was so shocking that they were stuck in the realm pressure before they realized what was happening. Meanwhile, the restriction inside the battle fortress was started suddenly. A golden brilliancy roared up. Impressively, it was a golden mirror, giving off an ancient aura. Inside the mirror, rays of golden light were encapsulated. Followed by swish, 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 swish. Dozens of golden beams burst out. They were divine rays of the north equipped for the battle fortress. 18 divine rays of the north, in total, moved faster than anyone could imagine. In a flash, they arrived at the camp of the Gold Kingdom and covered 18 of their experts at the forefront. There were 8 universe masters among them, and all of them were immediately pierced as soon as divine rays of the north reached them. Passing through them, the rays continued to attack the experts behind them. The divine rays of the north were so overwhelming that all of the experts of the Gold Kingdom were killed as soon as they were targeted. They did not even have a chance to fight back. The 18 divine rays of the north dissipated in an instant, having smashed the 8 universe masters and dozens of holy masters behind them. On top of that, dozens of palace masters and holy masters, who had been ready to go inside the battle fortress, rushed out with the divine rays of the north. Kill, they shouted. Kill, they shouted again. The roar of killing reverberated throughout the area. Several figures with bursting auras appeared before the experts from the Gold Kingdom. Their faces were distorted with astonishment. The Red Snow King especially looked scared, as if he had seen a ghost. Dozens of universe masters and thousands of holy masters, he said in shock. How is this possible? He asked. Since when did the Green Fire Palace have so many experts? He continued. Red Snow King looked incredulous. On the other side of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang suddenly turned around as the palace masters and the holy masters rushed out. Gu King. Jian Wushuang said. I'm ready. Gu King replied in a loud voice. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with sharpness and instantly. Ancient God's secret skill. Mind controlling, shouted Gu King. Plenilun's secret skills. Roaring, said Jian Wushuang. The roar of Plenilun and wrath of the ancient god fell again, What an earth-shaking moment. Chapter 12:16, The First Triumph. Chapter 12:16, The First Triumph. Too sudden. Everything happened too quickly. The sudden change had caught plenty of experts of the Jin Kingdom stunned, and there was no time for them to react. But the tide of the battle had greatly shifted. The experts of the Jin Kingdom were all trapped within the Jiu domain. The 18 streams of the divine rays of the north shone instantly and wounded the experts of the Jin Kingdom. Noticing their cue, the palace masters and holy masters sprang into action, throwing themselves at their quarries like pouncing predators. The forces of the Jin Kingdom had been pursuing those from the Green Fire world earlier. This had brought them into the range of barely thousands of kilometers from the battle fortress, allowing the ambushing masters to rain death upon them in such a short distance. Jian Wushuang joined hands with the Gu King, unleashing the same technique again. It was a total annihilation of the experts of the Jin Kingdom. Retaliation. Get back at them immediately. Kill them all. Slay them all. Spare no quarter. The experts of the Green Fire world who formerly had been routed turned back and mounted deadly reprisal. The ambush had confounded most of the holy masters of the Jin Kingdom. Without even realizing that the tables have been turned, many of them lost their lives by the Green Fire world experts' tide of vengeance. Some who had been fortunate to survive the first wave of onslaught were only catching their breath when the Green Fire world's experts fighting back had surprised them. They were earlier defeated, routed by them. But all of the sudden, how the tides of the battle directly changed. Boom! 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 The cacophony of the destruction and carnage thundered across the battlefield. The experts of the Jin Kingdom had lost a third of their number in just a simple confrontation. With the enhancement effects of the Jiu domain and the divine rays of the north, the host of the Green Fire world continued pushing ahead the wave of death, the merciless onslaught of butchery spreading towards the survivors whose will to fight immediately smothered. Damn! It is a trap. It is an ambush set by the Green Fire world. Retreat! Retreat at once! The Hong Shui King sounded his retreat, while his livid roars could be clearly heard from afar. The survivors of the ambush retreated frantically. It was apparent that they had fallen face-first into the ambush nicely set by the Green Fire world. The Green Fire world had divided part of their forces, concealing the bulk of them whilst using only the splintered group as decoys to lure their enemies closer to the battle fortress. When the enemies had come near, the experts and the masters sprung their trap, delivering a swift and deadly blow into swiftly to defeat their enemies. Damn! From whence did the experts of the Green Fire world come from actually? The Hong Shui King could hardly suppress his anger. He knew full well the powers and effects of the Jiu realm and the divine rays of the north. But he had hardly anticipated that the experts of the Green Fire world had wielded such strength and valor. How was it possible that the Green Fire world had birthed more than 10 universe masters and more than 1,000 holy masters in just a span of 8 decades? We've lost. The Jin Kingdom has utterly lost. It was now the armies of the Green Fire world who were now slaughtering and butchering what was left of the Jin Kingdom's armies. What had been a thrashing of the armies of the Green Fire world by the experts of the Jin Kingdom had instead turned out to be a total rout of the latter by the former. A good many of the experts of the Jin Kingdom had not been able to escape the grim fate of death that awaited them in the complete annihilation of the forces of the Jin Kingdom. Just then. What's this? The Samsara Temple Master, who was also at the battlefield, felt a sudden tingle to his senses. He looked far away in the distant and saw a great number of experts pouring out from the ancient spaceship at the farthest distance. The experts swarmed in a huge pack, racing speedily towards them. Halt! Hold your horses! The Samsara Temple Master commanded out aloud. Despite feeling displeased to be deprived of their chance to further exact retribution, the experts of the Green Fire world nevertheless relented to the will of their leader and promptly stopped. Let us retreat. With a wave of his arm, the Samsara Temple Master beckoned to his men. The experts of the Green Fire World immediately fell back and returned into the hold of the battle fortress. The reinforcements of the Jin Kingdom swiftly joined up with the survivors of the ambush and escorted them back to their spaceship. This brought down the curtains for the first confrontation of the war between the Green Fire World and the Jin Kingdom. Within the holds of the battle fortress. We've won. A huge victory. We have claimed the win for the first battle. Ha! The rest of the survivors would have also perished if not for the timely appearance of their reinforcements. Savage yells and jubilant howls of celebration could be heard everywhere in the battle fortress. The Green Fire World had indeed claimed first blood in their first battle. It was not only a victory, but a complete rout of their foes. The palace masters huddled together in revelry. This is exciting. It has been quite some time since I have enjoyed such exhilaration. Ha ha ha. The scoundrels from the Jin Kingdom have underestimated our forces, allowing us to mount an ambush which had crippled their legions with only one strike. It was all thanks to the impeccable battle plans and strategies drawn up for this battle. Much of the credit should also go to Palace Master Wushuang. Indeed. The two sonic wave attacks performed by Palace Master Wushuang and his worm beast have thrown the enemies into confusion, buying us two precious opportunities to launch critical assaults onto them. Moreover, his triumph against King Longshu has greatly lifted the morale of our armies. There would not be such a great victory without Palace Master Wushuang. The Palace Masters continued their hearty discussions about their win. Elsewhere, Jian Wushuang himself stayed with the Samsara Temple Master and the Void Temple Master. This is the first in 5 million years that the Green Fire World has achieved victory against the forces of the Jin Kingdom. The Samsara Temple Master mused as he laughed, but even in our last victory 5 million years ago, we won the gritty battle only because of the battle fortress. This time, we have won. Even against the main force of the legions of the Jin Kingdom. Standing together, Jian Wushuang, the Void Temple Master, the Sunrise Sword Emperor, and Red Lotus all shared a smile. Then again, there is hardly any margin for hubris and arrogance. This is only the first confrontation. While this could be only a test by the forces of the Jin Kingdom, we have shown them the full extent of our might. The victory itself was secured by the use of strategy and deception. It is still a fact that the Jin Kingdom still has strengths greater than us. The Samsara Temple Master continued. Jian Wushuang and the others nodded in agreement. They would hardly be proud with only a win. It was no secret to them that this was merely a test by the forces of the Jin Kingdom. This could well be proven by the fact that the monarch of the Jin Kingdom's absence from the battlefield. Masters. The Tang Emperor appeared out of the thin air. You have a count of our casualties? The Samsara Temple Master looked at him inquiringly. That is so. The Tang Emperor nodded grimly. Noticing his expression, Jian Wushuang and the others instantly understood that he had come bearing ill news. How was it? The Samsara Temple Master pressed. We may have won the battle, but at the cost of terrible losses. The Tang Emperor explained. Chapter 12:17, Casualties. Chapter 12:17, Casualties. The palace masters, including Jian Wushuang and the Samsara Temple Master, all had their breaths held as the weight of the Tang Emperor's words sank in. As you well know, we do not have many Universe Master. To make up for the lack of strength, we have bolstered their ranks with tactical formations in place. With most of the masters adept in protecting themselves, we have lost one Universe Master and another got badly injured. The rest is still able for battle. One dead and another wounded. The palace masters around nodded gently. It was still a loss that they could tolerate. Despite their tactical advantage in the ambush, it was a deadly and difficult battle nonetheless that would have claimed several more lives of the Universe Masters. The 6 of the senior palace masters of the Green Fire World, save for Jian Wushuang, were greatly experienced masters who had extensive stores of treasures and artifacts that could have protected them from harm. The perils of the last battle would hardly have endangered their lives. The rest of the other palace masters had struck in unison during the ambush, striking a fatal blow so heavy that the forces of the Jin Kingdom were astounded with shock. This had essentially stripped the victims of the ambush of all their abilities to retaliate, allowing the universe masters of the Green Fire world to strike without suffering much damage. Thus only one universe master was lost and another wounded by the desperate reprisals of the victims. The death of one universe master would be considered as negligible in comparison with the heavy losses of the many universe masters of the Jin Kingdom. But we have lost a total of 136 holy masters in this battle. Tang Emperor announced gravely. What? That many of them? Jian Wushuang and his comrades were stunned with shock. But they could only shake their heads in bereavement. It could be safely assumed that the loss of 136 holy masters had occurred when their men were luring the forces of the Jin Kingdom into their trap. Although these holy masters had fallen in battle, their enemies had also paid a more dire price in return. The Jin Kingdom had suffered even greater losses themselves. How about the Dao masters? Jian Wushuang asked. There had been one wounded universe master and one other dead. 136 holy masters had perished. But how about the Dao masters? The contingent of Dao masters was of the utmost importance to them, because it was the Dao masters who formed the backbone of the tactical formations in the last battle, the main force of the forces of the Green Fire world. Nevertheless, it was the tactical formations that had suffered the brunt of the Jin Kingdom's attack earlier. Our losses of the Dao masters are terrible. The Tang Emperor clasped his wrist tightly as his voice grew hoarse, saying, I have made some calculations. More than 35,000 Dao masters of our side have been killed in the last battle with another more than 10,000 heavily wounded. Not even healing elixirs would be able to restore them into proper battle strength in a short time. We have lost a quarter of our force in this battle. 40,000 of our Dao masters are either dead or dying. What? It was ill tidings that had come with the heaviness of the blow from a hammer. Everyone was startled by the grim news. 40,000 men. In only at their first battle, a test that the Jin Kingdom had done to assess their strength, the Green Fire world had lost 40,000 Dao masters. Could this really be hailed as a great victory? This was a most devastating loss to them. How is this possible? We have such a great number of our Dao masters lost. Jian Wushuang frowned with shock as even his body trembled. Beside him, the Samsara Temple Master merely exhaled lightly and said, the Dao masters, if unified together into formations, would be a formidable fighting force in battle. But if the formation is broken, the scattered masters would hardly be able to survive the onslaught of the enemy's forces, much less making it into the safety of the battle fortress. It is hardly surprising that many of them could not survive. It pains me to admit, but the Dao masters are as good as cannon fodders. We hardly have any choice. The victory of this war will determine the fate of all the lives in the Green Fire world. We need the battle strength of these Dao masters to weather this storm. Everything is for the survival of the Green Fire world. The Samsara Temple Master clenched his fists tightly. Beside him, Jian Wushuang and the other palace masters wore an expression most grim and morose. They knew that it would be a difficult and bloody battle. It would be a battle so deadly that there might not be even one out of every 10 Dao masters would survive this struggle. Yet, deprived of other options, they had no choice but to let these Dao masters fight. The Green Fire world had to gather all its strength and resources in order to endure the adversity posed by the Jin Kingdom. We have lost many comrades in this battle, most notably the comrades from the ranks of our Dao masters. But their sacrifice will not be for nothing. The Tang Emperor swore throatily, my calculations of the casualties of this battle have also included an approximate number of the men that the Jin Kingdom has lost as well. They have sent more than 50 universe masters and more than 1,500 holy masters in this battle. But not more than 20 universe masters and not more than 500 holy masters survived. In this battle, we of the Green Fire world have slain more than 20 universe masters and more than 1,000 holy masters of the Jin kingdom. This is a bite that even the great monarch of their kingdom will find it hard to bear. The Tang Emperor's words roused everyone present from their mournful bewilderment. Indeed, most of the forces of the Green Fire world have been lost, but the Jin kingdom had suffered an even more devastating damage. More than 30 universe masters from their number had fallen. Among them, there were more than 10 who had been slain by Jian Wushuang alone. In addition to the more than 1,000 dead holy masters, the casualty of this battle was a cost that would be very difficult for the Jin kingdom to stomach. In one way or another, this is, undeniably, a victory for us. But victory in war does not come without sacrifice. The deaths of our comrades are unavoidable. The Samsara Temple Master said. Indeed. The other palace masters present nodded in agreement. Go. Do what you should. The Samsara Temple Master turned around. Sunrise Sword Emperor and Red Lotus, I would like you both to reorganize the battle formations manned by the Tao Masters. The Jin Kingdom will never relent, not especially after suffering such a terrible defeat. The next confrontation will not be far behind. We must be prepared by then. Understood. The Sunrise Sword Emperor and the Palace Master called Red Lotus nodded and retreated. The rest of the Palace Masters then took their leave and left. At the same time, within the decks of the spaceship far away from the battle fortress, the Hong Shui King knelt before the monarch of the Jin Kingdom in a huge chamber as fear and panic were evident upon his face. He knew full well of the terrible loss that he had incurred in his battle. More so, it was he who was in command of the forces of the Jin Kingdom. Chapter 12:18, Secret Weapon. Chapter 12:18, Secret Weapon. You have reported to me before the battle that the Green Fire world would at most be able to field 6 universe masters including Jian Wushuang. You have assured me that they would not have more than 200 holy masters. I would need you to explain from where did the rest of the universe and holy masters come from, Red Snow King. Seated upon his throne with immense dignity, the monarch of the Jin Kingdom held the Red Snow King in his gaze, revealing no emotion from him as he spoke with a steely calm tone. Yet, the Red Snow King could clearly feel the invisible threat beneath the apparently disinterested demeanor of his liege as if a blade was being held over his throat. He knew full well that a single word uttered carelessly and wrongly would see him cruelly put to death by the monarch. My liege. The Red Snow King was on the verge of a total panic. Desperately, he pleaded, my calculations had been true then, my lord. They only have 6 universe masters and less than 200 holy masters then. I know. It must be the Dan Xian Palace. Yes. They must be behind this. The Dan Xian Palace. The monarch leaned down from his throne. Not long before this great battlefield, a faction had risen to defy us. They called themselves the Dan Xian Palace and they have since begun to stir us, of the Jin Kingdom, to fight against the Green Fire world. The Dan Xian Palace has great stores of elixirs and potions. During their early days, the spirit of the Dan Xian Palace had once carelessly scattered several hundreds of life elixirs and even 6 nirvana elixirs. Clearly, such expense is hardly heavy to them. Somebody from the Green Fire world must have communicated with the Dan Xian Palace and procured a huge supply of elixirs from them. This must be it. That must be the reason for the huge increase in their powers. The Red Snow King explained frantically. Is that so? The brows of the monarch rose inquiringly. He wore a smile as he mused to himself, so there's even a depository of elixirs here on this battlefield. This is interesting. If only we can fully claim dominion over this entire battlefield. From thereafter. His voice trailed off. But the eyes of the monarch flared with ambition and hunger. Very well. Despite the terrible losses, the blame for failure is not upon you. You shall be absolved of all punishment. Leave us. The monarch dismissed the Red Snow King with a wave of his hand. My greatest thanks, sire. The Red Snow King thanked his ruler profusely before he left with joy, glad that his life was still his. Long Su. The monarch's gaze fell onto another person who has been present, the Long Su King. Sire. The Long Su King acknowledged. The Long Su King was pale, his face completely bloodless and his aura severely weakened. It is rare to see you in such weakened state. The monarch looked down at him, studying him with mild interest. It's my fault to underestimate them. I have been remiss not to anticipate Jian Wushuang to conceal his strength. The sudden burst has caught me off guard, paving way for my defeat. But if I have another chance, his glare turned cold with malice. You are no match for him now. You would, at most, suffer a less humiliating defeat. But a defeat nonetheless, even if you are granted another chance. The monarch sighed. The monarch had not appeared on to the battle himself. But he had seen with his own eyes the gritting exchange of blows between the Long Su King and Jian Wushuang. It was clear to him that the Long Su King was lesser in skills in comparison to his adversary. You have been badly injured. It is fortunate that you were able to return alive. Have some rest and restore your powers. You will no longer need to be troubled for now. The monarch commanded. Yes, my liege. Despite his discontent, he accepted the command of the monarch. He was fully aware of the state of his health, knowing fully that his wounds would take time to heal. No one else was left in the majestic hall, save for the monarch himself and the quiet and elegant female, Jiu Shi. Jiu Shi. The monarch turned to her, calling her. What are your commands, Lord Jin Feng? Jiu Shi asked the monarch coolly. The strength of the forces of the Green Fire world has exceeded our expectations. Moreover, they still have control of the battle fortress. I am afraid that even I myself may not be able to fully vanquish them. It seems that some prices must be paid for the utter domination of this battlefield. The monarch brooded aloud. You mean you would intend to use the secret weapon, Lord Jin Feng? The eyes of Jiu Shi gleamed suddenly with anticipation. Yes. The eyes of the monarch that glowed faintly with a golden blush burrowed deep into Jiu Shi. We will run the course just as planned. You will receive an additional 1/10 of the rewards when success is at hand. 1/10? No. Jiu Shi smiled wickedly as she shook her head. I want 3 times of what we have agreed before. The glare of the monarch turned cold instantly, dosed with suppressed wrath and ferocity. Do you know what are you talking about, Jiu Shi? Of course I do. Jiu Shi smiled mockingly and said, I have not fully comprehended the true worth of this battlefield when you ask for my help, Lord Jin Feng. But now that I have seen it myself. There might still be more secrets of this battlefield still elusive from my knowledge, but one thing is certain, this is a land of bounty. A huge bounty which would have driven even my sect insane with awe at its riches. This is a tremendous trove of riches and wealth that you are sitting on, Lord Jin Feng. One that you alone would enjoy. I ask only 3 times of my agreed reward. Surely that is a mere speck if compared to the immensity of the value of this battlefield put together. You dare bargain with me? The monarch's glare turned frosty and threatening. Do you not fear that I would have you disposed of once you have outgrown your usefulness? You may try, Lord Jin Feng. Jiu Shi remained unfazed by his intimidation. You and I are the only souls aware of the secrets of this battlefield. But if some evils should befall me, I assure you that my sect will receive words of this secret. They will have people sent here, most likely led by the prodigy expert, my senior brother himself. Were you not interested in my senior brother, Lord Jin Feng? You can find out for yourself whether he or Jian Wushuang is more powerful then, when he comes. You dare threaten me? A huge and strong murderous intent gushed from the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Nay, my lord. I only wish to negotiate. Jiu Shi said before she continued, I assure you, Lord Jin Feng, that word of this secret will never be leaked to another soul. As long as you allow me a sufficient reward. I can swear a mortal oath if you so will. This battlefield, along with all its secrets and riches, would only belong to the Jin kingdom alone. The eyes of the monarch squinted as he studied her intently, pondering for moments as he contemplated his next move and response. At length, he replied, I agree to your terms. I will not only allow you 3 times of the agreed rewards. In fact, I will give you 10 times of what was agreed before. But you are not to leave my side at all times, not until when the forces of the Jin kingdom leave this battlefield when, and only when all riches and secrets of this battlefield are fully claimed by me. It seems that you are exceptionally wary of me, are you not, Lord Jin Feng? Jiao Shi gave him a devilish smile as she immediately nodded. Very well. We have an agreement then. You will now prepare the arrangements. I ensure that none will disturb you during your rituals. The monarch ordered. Be at ease, sire. The Jin kingdom will not lose not even one man when the secret weapon is ready. You will be able to vanquish the vermins from the green fire world with hardly any effort. She laughed. Chapter 12:19, The Spiraling Vortex. Chapter 12:19, The Spiraling Vortex. The deeps of the battle fortress was still engulfed by a rowdy and boisterous crowd, albeit in a completely different atmosphere. Even though they had managed to secure a huge victory at their first confrontation with the Jin kingdom, the warriors of the green fire world began to notice and comprehend their own losses as the fervor of their first triumph began to subside. The sacrifices of the huge number of Dao masters swept the entire battle fortress into a sorrowful mood. Jian Wushuang wandered aimlessly along the corridors of the fortress as he looked around. He was still strolling with his mind far away when his senses alerted him to 2 familiar presences. With a whisk of his robes, he leaped towards the auras that he knew. There were 2 figures huddling together in a corner. First and third senior brothers. Jian Wushuang addressed them. The 2 people standing together were Jian Wushuang's first senior brother, Xue Lingtian, and third senior brother, Bai Hu. Junior brother. They both turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Only you 2 are over here. Where is second senior brother? Jian Wushuang asked. Your second senior brother. He. I am afraid he's, Xue Lingtian tried to explain, but he could hardly finish his words, with the look of grief unmistakable upon his features. Beside him, Bai Hu was on the verge of tears. Jian Wushuang felt a shudder as he grasped what had happened. Has he fallen? Jian Wushuang muttered. There had been about 35,000 Dao masters giving their lives in the battle earlier. Jian Wushuang's second senior brother, Purple Mountain, was one of the Dao masters who had tragically fallen during the Jin kingdom's onslaught. Second senior brother. Jian Wushuang gasped with anguish, as his fists were tightly clenched with rage and his eyes wet with pain and sadness. Our teacher has urged that we should be careful during battle when we came. We have always kept his words at heart. Yet, we have never expected that one of us would perish in only the first confrontation. Xue Lingtian lamented as he shook his head in grief. My skills and strength are inferior even to second senior brother. I am afraid death shall not be far from me. You both are much stronger. You must stay alive. Baidu spoke to them, as if leaving them his final words. Speak nothing of such ominous words, junior brother. Xue Lingtian admonished him sharply. But Jian Wushuang could not help feeling a strong burden weighing over his heart. There were more than 35,000 deaths in the first battle, some of whom were related to Jian Wushuang. His second senior brother, Purple Mountain, was one of them. Jian Wushuang then later found that Di Jing was amongst the casualties as well. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang breathed heavily with agonizing pain. Jian Wushuang had long known Di Jing since the day they met in the ancient world. It was he that had told Jian Wushuang about the eternal world and had widened the latter's perspective about the vastness of the universe. Moreover, Di Jing had saved him from evil numerous times. It was his kindness that Jian Wushuang had felt eternally indebted to. Yet, he had barely been able to repay him for his kindness when his benefactor had already perished in battle. Purple Mountain, Di Jing, and the dreamless Tao Master, whom Jian Wushuang had known during his venture into the Samsara continent, had all perished in this battle. In the midst of grief and sadness, Jian Wushuang could only sigh with dismay. They had all given their lives for the Green Fire world. Just then, Palace Master Wushuang, look! A Tao Master beside him called him out. With a flicker of his body, Jian Wushuang appeared at the edges of the battle fortress and cast his sights far into the distance where the spaceship was. A female, proud and stern of demeanor, glided out of the spaceship and was coming directly at the fortress. Ah! Jian Wushuang looked at her intently. He could see that despite being a universe master, the woman had an aura inferior to that of the Long Su King. What's her intention of coming here, alone? Jian Wushuang. The Samsara Temple Master, the Void Temple Masters and the rest of his comrade hurried over, having received word about the lone woman. The palace masters all looked darkly with doubt at the sight of the woman coming, not knowing what was she up to. The proud woman flew closer and closer. Finally, she stopped, hanging over mid-air thousands of kilometers away from the battle fortress. There, before the eyes of the host of experts in the fortress, the woman produced a token with a flick of her wrists. She channeled her powers and drew from within the token two mysterious strands of auric energies, one in black and the other in white. The two energies were apparently of completely conflicting nature, for they tried vehemently to gnaw and chew at each other as they intertwined furiously. The entanglement of energies ground and gnashed together violently, producing a huge drawing force. Swoosh! Even the fabric of space and air surrounding the entangling mass of energy was ruptured by its sheer destructive force. Slowly, a coagulation of black and white raw energies blended as one began to swirl like a whirlpool at the very center of the battlefield. The black and white vortex seemed harmless. Any one of the holy masters or even a Tao master could have easily decimated it. Still, the mysterious vortex began to grow and enlarge at an unprecedented speed. It was only the size of a bowl when it first took form. But in mere moments, it was now the size of a pail, and yet it was hardly stopping. What is that? Everyone in the battle fortress began to take notice of the swirling mass of energies outside. All of them were riddled with suspicions and bewilderment. Not one of the warriors in the fortress knew what it was, nor did any of them knew the woman's reason in conjuring the vortex. Everyone, save for one, the Gu King in Jian Wushuang's body. At the sight of the black and white spinning vortex, he immediately exclaimed with fright, "That is the enduring samsara. The grand formation of the enduring samsara. The grand formation of the enduring samsara." Jian Wushuang was puzzled by the Gu King's sudden agitation. What is this grand formation, Gu King? Is it powerful? Powerful? Powerful, you say? To call it powerful is an understatement. The Gu King's voice turned cold and frosty like never before seen as he told his companion, "Attack at once, Jian Wushuang. Destroy the swirling vortex before it truly grows. Kill the woman as well. Otherwise, the Green Fire world will be destroyed." What? Jian Wushuang was startled. The end of the Green Fire world is near if the vortex is not destroyed. Is it that bad? Jian Wushuang grimaced with horror. Humph. It is much more terrible than what you can imagine. Go at once lest it is too late. The Gu King pestered. Very well. Jian Wushuang acknowledged wearily. With his past travels through the eternal chaotic world with King Luo Zhen for many years before, the Gu King has vast experiences and knowledge that has proved to be an asset to Jian Wushuang. Even though he has not fully revealed the true abilities of the Grand Formation, Jian Wushuang trusted the Gu King's warnings that the Grand Formation would be of tremendous danger to them without question. Everyone. There is something unusual about the vortex. I will now try to destroy it before it grows. Jian Wushuang announced his intentions. Granted. I myself do not feel well too. There is something peculiar about the vortex. The Samsara Temple Master nodded in agreement. Go as you will, Jian Wushuang. But be extremely careful. Return immediately if anything is wrong. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and disappeared with a kick of his heels. Chapter 12:20, The Terrible Thrust. Chapter 12:20, The Terrible Thrust. The proud and stern woman stood hovering in mid-air, at thousands of kilometers far away from the battle fortress. The swirling vortex of black and white hues by her side spun ceaselessly, growing larger and larger. By now, the spinning vortex had stretched almost a meter in width, yet it was still expanding at a fast speed. The woman studied the vortex, feeling satisfied with her handiwork. The size of the vortex, looking hardly intimidating, belied its true terror, mused the woman to herself. Much she had expended and much had been exhausted, just to conjure this churning eddy of destruction. Just then, a figure fleeted out of the battle fortress. Jiu Shi had noticed the figure when it made its appearance. Lord Jin Feng. Jiu Shi immediately alerted her patron. Fret not. I am here. He will never come near to endangering you. The voice of the monarch reverberated. That's good. Jiu Shi smiled as she saw the figure racing through the air at her. That seems to be the Jian Wushuang, whom you have spoken of, is he? Humph. Very well, I will send him off to his death since he has delivered himself to my doorstep. The cold-blooded voice came again. He was only nearby, using certain methods of sorcery to keep himself hidden. Jian Wushuang streaked through the air. But he stopped suddenly when he was nearly 20,000 kilometers far away from that woman. Something is not right. Jian Wushuang's eyebrows rose with doubt. The woman should have noticed my coming. Yet she has shown no reaction nor alarm. Not even the forces of the Jin Kingdom has shown any movement. Be careful, Jian Wushuang. This might be a trap. The Gu King warned him. I understand. Jian Wushuang answered as his eyes squinted. He cast forth his spiritual senses, a wave of his fire of soul that rippled from him and reached far and wide like a tide of the sea. In the blink of an eye, a facsimile of the entire landscape of the terrain around him was conceived in his mind. Jian Wushuang could now spiritually see and read his surroundings through his mind. Ah! Immediately, he noticed a strange distortion in the air, just beside the woman. The part of the area seemed perfectly normal to the naked eye, but the distortion in the continuum of space in that area showed that someone was standing there invisibly. Indeed. There is someone hidden. Jian Wushuang instantly realized. It is a rather quaint technique. No common universe master is able to employ a sorcery of this level. Moreover, common universe masters would hardly dare to spring a trap upon me. The one that is now hidden from sight. Could it be? Could it be that it is the monarch of the Jin Kingdom? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling a shudder in his mind. The highly exalted monarch of the Jin Kingdom, a warrior of the highest order himself, should be the only one of the entire Jin Kingdom most capable of defeating him. There is a strong possibility that it is the monarch of the Jin Kingdom hiding to ambush you. Retreat now, Jian Wushuang. Back to the battle fortress and regroup with the others. The Gu King urged him. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded. Floating high above in the air, he took another step forward as if he was still adamant on continuing. But his foot had barely fallen when he instantly performed the dragon blood secret skill and sped as quickly as the winds could bear him. This had not gone unnoticed by the monarch of the Jin Kingdom, whose expression turned furious. He'd noticed me. Humph. But still, there is no escaping your fate. He gave a bitter snort. What followed was a strong and terrifying aura, one which was able to strike fear and despair into the hearts of all experts from both the Jin Kingdom and the Green Fire world alike. The aura shot into the air with the semblance of a terrible beast pouncing upon its prey. A golden flash of light tore through the sky with trails of gilded sparkles at its tail, like a shooting star flying over the sky. Die! The monarch's scowling face darkened with rage as he growled and pierced forth with the jet-black spear he held in his hand. A shimmering distortion broke open in the air before his thrust, allowing the spear to enter through it. Another distortion appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, and from within it, the black spear thrust forth at him with the speed and deadliness of a striking serpent. What? Jian Wushuang was astonished, caught off guard by the sudden strike. He had already noticed that something was wrong and he had turned back, speeding as swiftly as he could to safety. But never had he expected that the stroke, unleashed by the monarch thousands of kilometers away, could defy the laws of physics and strike at him from afar. The terrible thrust of the spear snapped dangerously at him. Jian Wushuang felt only a cold shiver of fear that made his hair stand as his senses tingled wildly, warning him of the impending danger. The Dawn Light Technique. Instinctively, Jian Wushuang brandished his sword. The Blood Mountain sword trembled in his grasp, channeling the powers of its own. The sword stabbed forward swiftly, shining with a blinding illumination resembling the first light of day just as a shroud of darkness beset upon his surroundings. Jian Wushuang performed the stroke of dawn technique with all his might. His sword clashed against the black spear, as steel gnashed furiously at steel with the force that had even severely injured the Long Su king. Bump! The force of the thrust was transmitted to his arm via his sword. It was so powerful that his arm instantly bulged and exploded into bits of shredded flesh and viscera. The Blood Mountain sword was flung quickly away from him by the magnitude of the blast. But fatal peril was still at hand, the black spear was not withdrawn. Instead, its force spread from what was left of his ruptured arm and struck his torso, causing him internal injuries. Erg! Jian Wushuang spat a huge mouthful of blood. His face grew instantly pale white as he grew weakened. But he was still alive. Propelled backward by the force of the attack he had suffered, Jian Wushuang turned and hurled himself towards the directions of the battle fortress, retrieving the Blood Mountain sword as he bolted back to safety. Shoo! Jian Wushuang zipped through the air like a projectile tearing at great speeds, desperately escaping back into the sanctuary of the fortress. As he entered the hold of the fortress, the figure of the monarch of the Jin kingdom shimmered into sight. He had wanted to chase Jian Wushuang, but he was thwarted by the barriers held by the fortress itself. He's managed to escape. The monarch muttered coldly. As a sovereign who had finally decided to take matters into his own hands, he had failed to slay Jian Wushuang. Interesting. This Jian Wushuang does have a few tricks up his sleeves. He's been able to notice my presence, endured what should have been a fatal blow to him, and yet he still lives. The monarch emitted a light giggle, looking hardly distressed even though he was not able to put Jian Wushuang to his death. There was still the vortex which was nearing completion. Jian Wushuang and all the experts of the Green Fire world will not be able to escape their death when the ritual is ready. Jian Wushuang rushed into the hold of the battle fortress. He crashed into the floor, leaving a huge crater with cracks stretching wide. Jian Wushuang. Master Wushuang. The Samsara Temple Master, the Void Temple Masters and the rest of his comrade hurried over to see to him. Everyone huddled around Jian Wushuang, only to see him barely hanging on to his life. He was drenched in blood, feebly weak as his entire right arm was gone, left only with blood and viscera. I am still alive. Barely, it was fortunate that I noticed something's wrong and immediately escape. My original body would never have survived if I have taken but one more step forward. Jian Wushuang breathed, grateful for still being alive. A careful person as he usually was, Jian Wushuang had intentionally left behind his secondary body at the battle fortress. He would still be alive even if the original body was annihilated by the monarch earlier. But he would lose his equipment and treasures, such as the blood-killing plate armor and the Blood Mountain sword, if he had indeed sacrificed his original body earlier. Chapter 12:21, The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Chapter 12:21, The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Seeing that Jian Wushuang was still alive, his comrades heaved a sigh of relief. A trap. That's indeed a trap. The great monarch of the Jin kingdom did not appear even at the first battle. To think that he would elect to conceal himself to ambush Master Wushuang. Hardly the conduct befitting a king. Huge roars of anger and indignant shoutings arose within the deep of the battle fortress. The palace masters of the Green Fire world immediately convened to discuss their plans. With incredible restorative powers of his own coupled with the help of the Gu King, Jian Wushuang required only a short period to heal himself with a new arm fully regrown. Palace Master Yun. I am afraid no one is better than you in the skills of using magical formations. Do you have any inkling as to what that black and white vortex is? The Samsara Temple Master sat in his throne and asked, his deep voice rumbling with concern. The rest of the palace masters present immediately turned to look at Palace Master Yun. Palace Master Yun was one of the oldest entities in the Green Fire world. Long had he been deep in delving into the arcane skills and masteries of using magical barriers and formations. Indeed, there was no better person than he who knew more about magical formations. Palace Master Yun frowned as he raked his mind for answers to the inquiry of the Temple Master. It took quite some time before he uttered, the black and white swirling mass is a mixture of two different energies of opposing polarities. The conjurer of the mass has harnessed both energies to create a revolving cycle that consumes and breaks apart both air and space around it. That is indeed a magical formation. More importantly, it looks oddly alike to a formation I have once read about in an ancient codex, the Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Yes, it looks almost the same. The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. This sent a shudder across the crowd of palace masters present. Yes. That swirling mass of black and white color is indeed the Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Jian Wushuang's voice came suddenly. The Gu King had earlier recognized the spinning vortex. This is bad. Woe is upon us if that is really the grand formation that you spoke of. Palace Master Yun's voice grew deep and hoarse. The ancient codex that I have once read is actually chanced upon by experts of the Green Fire Palace somewhere from this vast battlefield. Despite having recorded many unique and powerful magical formations, much of the codex has been damaged and scattered with missing chapters and pages. The descriptions of this formation in the codex is incomplete. But from the pieces of fragmental information remaining, it is safe to conclude that the grand formation is indeed terrible and dangerous to us all. The swirling vortex might seem ordinary and harmless, and even a Dao master may easily destroy it. But once completed, the vortex will increase into a gargantuan size in only 2 hours. By then, there will be no ways for us to destroy it. 2 hours. The stunned crowd of palace masters began to look worried. It had been more than 2 hours since the woman of the Jin kingdom began her rituals to conjure the vortex. Could this not mean that the grand formation had fully stabilized? Indeed, what Master Yun said is correct. With only 2 hours, the grand formation will be fully secured. That's why I urged you to strike immediately before. It's imperative that you destroy the formation before it nears completion. But now, the voice of the Gu King rang grimly in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jian Wushuang grimaced with dread. He turned to Palace Master Yun. Master Yun, what powers does the grand formation wield? Will it keep on expanding? Yes. It will grow ceaselessly. Palace Master Yun acknowledged, its reach now will hardly be able to threaten us. But as it grows in size, so does its strength. Its powers will draw in and swallow everything around it. With no one to stop it, its growth will never see its end. The vortex will only require a few years to grow into a staggering size. By then, it will be able to destroy this battle fortress and reduce us into shreds. The Green Fire world, having lesser endurance than that of the battle fortress, will surely fall as well. What? The palace masters present were all astounded. With only a few years of maturation, the swirling vortex of energies would be able to destroy even the battle fortress. With the battle fortress and the green fire world remaining anchored and immovable, the position of the vortex just in front of the fortress would make the fortress its first and foremost prey when it grew larger. So, the Jin Kingdom would only have to wait and watch us being devoured by this vortex when they would not need to even lose any of their soldiers. The Void Temple Master uttered with shock. That is true. Palace Master Yun nodded wearily. Silence filled the hall as the palace masters instantly fell into a sullen dismay of fear and dread. They were still reveling in the victory of the first battle not long ago, honestly believing that they finally had the power to challenge the Jin Kingdom. They were confident that they would prevail. But never had they expected that the Jin Kingdom employed the use of something so deadly and terrible. The grand formation of the enduring samsara that was such a terrifying horror. No. We cannot allow it to continue growing. We must destroy it before it destroys us. The Samsara Temple Master bellowed. Aye. We must destroy it at once. The vortex will be our greatest nightmare if not removed. An unconquerable resolution shone in their eyes. In one way or another, the black and white vortex must be stopped. Palace Master Yun, you seem to be most familiar with this grand formation. Do you have any suggestions? The Samsara Temple Master looked towards the Palace Master Yun. The old Palace Master shook his head. I am afraid not. As I have mentioned earlier, the information of the grand formation in the ancient codex is hardly complete. The description of it is all I have. What? We do not know how. There was hushed murmuring and dark glances shared among the masters. Do you know of any way to undo this formation, Gu King? Jian Wushuang asked his companion. Despite my adventures in the eternal chaotic world with King Luo Zhen, I have barely any understanding in magical formations. I have once seen with my own eyes another grand formation of the enduring samsara, another one which had grown for millennia. But it was an immensely powerful entity who have destroyed it. The Gu King related of his tale. Destroyed with sheer raw power. Jian Wushuang was surprised. You would best find another way yourself. The one who destroyed the grand formation I'd seen was one of the most powerful supreme entities, one who was equal to the founder of the star bloodline. None of you here possess any strengths that could hope to match his. The Gu King remarked. Chapter 12:22, and Solution. Chapter 12:22, and Solution. What is to be done then? Jian Wushuang turned angry and growled, is there nothing we can do, save to watching blindly as the vortex swells and grows until it destroys us? The palace masters wore a sullen and worried look. Should we try for an all-out assault and kill the woman who is still working on the rituals of the grand formation? The Tang Emperor suggested. That would hardly help. Palace Master Yun shook his head heavily. Once enduring samsara formation is formed, even we kill the man who plays the formation, it will continue to expand without an end. Is there really no solution to this? The Samsara Temple Master asked, refusing to relent. I still have much to learn in the skills of conjuring magical formation. There could still be a chance if we have help from someone who is more adept and proficient in the use of these skills. Palace Master Yun admitted. One who is more adept and proficient than you in the skills of using magical formations. The Samsara Temple Master gave a short and bitter laugh. Who else save for you, Master Yun? You are the greatest in the skills of conjuring magical formations. Who else can we look to if you too know not of any solutions? The rest of the palace masters shook their heads furtively in dismay. I may know one. One whose skills in the sorcery of magical formation could outvie even Palace Master Yun. There were gasps and exclamation of shock as a voice rose from the midst of the dejected crowd. It was the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Every eye present instantly turned and trained upon the Sword Emperor. Sword Emperor, is there anyone you know whose skills in the sorcery of magical formation bests even Master Yun? The Samsara Temple Master asked with shock and distraught. There is another whose skill in formation outstrips mine in the green fire world? Even Palace Master Yun himself could hardly believe what he had heard. He had the utmost confidence in the skillfulness of his craft. For a long time, even he himself had truly believed that he was the greatest conjurer of magical formations in the green fire world. Otherwise, he would never have been charged with manning the huge magical formation at the edge of the vast battlefield. Yet, in an abrupt manner, the Sunrise Sword Emperor proclaimed that there was still another whose skills in the craft of using magical formation outvied him. In fact, I do. But whether his skills in the crafts of using magical formation eclipses Master Yun, that I cannot say. But his skills are truly unfathomable, to say the least. The Sunrise Sword Emperor confessed solemnly. Do you still remember the magical barrier in the Hall of Crucified Minds 30,000 years ago? The Hall of Crucified Minds? The memory seemed to strike Palace Master Yun hard. He hastily said, "Of course I do. That was a site of opportunity encountered by us 30,000 years ago. We have found plenty of treasures and resources there, and I remember the powerful magical barrier that was holding the hall. You have summoned for my assistance to destroy the barrier when you found the hall back then. The destruction alone had taken me a few hundred years of research, yet I have only accomplished so little. I would require at least more than another millennium before I can truly undo the magical barrier. But it was you. Somehow you had found a way to destroy the barrier, a way which had eliminated the barrier in mere moments." "Indeed." The Sunrise Sword Emperor acknowledged as he smiled. "Indeed, I had found a way to destroy the barrier. But it was taught to me by a mysterious person. A mysterious person who is a true enigma." "An enigma?" Everyone kept their gazes transfixed upon the Sunrise Sword Emperor. "Yes. He exudes a strange presence. It was by chance that I encountered him, and he was apparently studying the craft of magical formations. Knowing that he could be a learned scholar in the craft, I illustrated the magical barriers in the Hall of Crucified Minds and showed it to him. With merely a glance, he could immediately teach me the way of destroying it." The Sunrise Sword Emperor admitted. "What?" Palace Master Yun was instantly astonished by this revelation. "This is impossible. He knew how to destroy that barrier with a mere glance." The insides of Palace Master Yun squirmed violently with anxiety. For centuries, he had searched, delved, and scrapped through every resource he came across, only to find a mere inkling to which how should the barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds be removed. Yet, there was one, a person who had been able to see the weaknesses of the barrier with only one simple look? Is there truly one such conjurer of magical formation who wields such abilities in the green fire world? Palace Master Yun challenged immediately. "I speak only the truth. But there is also the possibility that he is familiar with only that particular barrier. But still, just as I have said before, the man is strange and unusual." The Sword Emperor clearly admired the stranger greatly. "Be that as it may, we have no other options but to implore his help. He may be able to provide us with ways to destroy the grand formation of the enduring samsara." Palace Master Yun remarked quickly. "Sword Emperor, where is he now? This mysterious stranger?" The Samsara Temple Master asked with haste. "Sadly, I know nothing of the person's origins. I only know that he exudes a most unusual aura. He was of the eternal realm when I met him, that I am sure of. But even I, who was a universe master then, could not fully sense the full extent of his powers." The Sunrise Sword Emperor revealed. But there was one man amongst the crowd of dazed spectators who jumped with recognition. It was Jian Wushuang. A man who appeared to be of the eternal realm, yet not even the Sunrise Sword Emperor could truly discern his full powers. Could it be? Is he not? Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang looked immediately to the Sunrise Sword Emperor. "The mysterious stranger you mentioned, is he called Xianyi?" "Xianyi?" The Sunrise Sword Emperor shook his head. "I do not know the person's real name. Jian Wushuang immediately pressed on, have you given him a token that contained 3 sword essences as repayment of the favor when he had taught you about the ways to remove the barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds? Yes. How did you know that? The Sunrise Sword Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang with shock and surprise. Despite hearing the Sword Emperor's words, they did not register into the mind of Jian Wushuang, whose face instantly turned eerie. This stranger, although outwardly an Eternal Realm practitioner back then, was able to notice the ways to destroy the powerful barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds with a mere look. His true powers were so unfathomable that not even the Sunrise Sword Emperor, who was then a universe master, could not fully gauge his full greatness. Most importantly, the Sunrise Sword Emperor had given him a token that contained 3 sword essences for the favor he has been accorded. The details have fully illustrated the identity of the mysterious stranger. Everyone, if I am right, I believe I know the person whom the Sword Emperor spoke of. Jian Wushuang declared. You know him. The eyes of the other palace masters twinkled with hope as they turned to look at Jian Wushuang at once. I not only know him. In fact, he is my teacher. Jian Wushuang croaked hoarsely. Your master. The epiphany took everyone by surprise. He is your master. Even the Sunrise Sword Emperor turned to stare at Jian Wushuang, his shock and bewilderment hardly concealed. Indeed he is. The token that you have given him, he had passed it on to me. I was then a fresh student in martial skills who was still powerless and weak. The 3 sword essences you have imbued into the token had saved me many times. Jian Wushuang revealed with a smile. That is great. The Sunrise Sword Emperor beamed with delight. Send word to your teacher at once, Jian Wushuang. We need to see if he has any solution to break the enduring samsara formation. Understood. I will send word right away. Jian Wushuang nodded. Chapter 1223, Instructions. Chapter 1223, Instructions. Teacher. Jian Wushuang communicated with his mentor. Yes. It did not take long for Xian Yi to respond. Second senior brother has gone, Jian Wushuang said with grief. I know it already. Xian Yi exhaled lightly and continued. All fates are predestined. It was his inescapable destiny. I cannot help it, too. Jian Wushuang heaved a heavy and sorrowful breath as well. That should hardly be the only matter you reach out to me for, is it not? Xian Yi said. Indeed, teacher. Jian Wushuang answered. There is a problem that I need your help with. Problem? Continue. Xian Yi replied, his tone still cool and indifferent as ever. Xian Yi had 4 disciples, all of which had reached the level of Dao masters, most notably Jian Wushuang, who was now one of the strongest warriors of the Green Fire world. But never had he requested for favors from his disciples, rather, it was his students who had repeatedly reached to him for help. Well, the problem is, Jian Wushuang then explained the problem and situation of the battlefield to his teacher. Ah. Enduring samsara formation. Xian Yi's brows twitched with interest. I see that the monarch of the Jin kingdom has expended a great deal this time to have employed a magical formation of such magnitude and destruction. Enduring samsara formation is hardly a small problem. Indeed it is, teacher. That is why I have only you to request for help from. Jian Wushuang answered. That will hardly be a problem. Enduring samsara formation itself is hardly invulnerable. Xian Yi remarked. So there are indeed ways to stop it? Jian Wushuang asked, with relief and joy brimming in his heart. Enduring samsara formation is, in essence, a formation comprised of 2 completely different energies of opposing nature being harnessed in an endless cycle. The formation can be easily destroyed by disrupting the cycle or completely reversing the cycle itself. Xian Yi explained as he smiled thinly. I can think of 6 different ways to destroy it. What? Jian Wushuang blurted with astonishment. What is it, Jian Wushuang? The palace masters standing around him noticed the clamor and looked in his way. My teacher had just told me that there's 6 ways to destroy enduring samsara formation. Jian Wushuang explained. His words left them speechless and stunned. Palace Master Yun's eyes widened into the size of eggs as he took in the words with disbelief. They had been enduring both despair and disappointment as their desperate search for ways to destroy the enduring samsara formation but had yielded no results. Yet, unexpectedly, the teacher of Jian Wushuang revealed that there were 6 methods of destroying it. There are indeed 6 different ways to destroy enduring samsara formation. But with the current strength of the green fire world, I'm afraid there is only one way. Xian Yi communicated. What way? Jian Wushuang asked again anxiously. As long as the formation could be destroyed, even one single way was all they need for now. Listen to me. Illustrate for me the profile of the swirling vortex of the formation. Xian Yi instructed. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. With his magical powers, Jian Wushuang drew an image of the vortex as he stood in the hall, as instructed by Xian Yi. The magical formation might look ordinary to the eye like a harmless vortex of swirling black and white fumes. But in truth, the formation had hidden within itself a lot of intricacies which made it a very powerful and complex sorcery. So complicated was its conjuration that even Palace Master Yun could not find out its weakness for now. With the image completed, Xian Yi's voice came to him again. Remember these 4 points I show you. Xian Yi pointed to Jian Wushuang 4 different points upon the grand formation. Remember this 4 points. These are the pillars that sustain the grand formation. At the centermost part between all 4 points, lies the fatal pressure point of the formation. I will now pass on to you another set of skill, a sword formation that requires 4 persons. Xian Yi instructed with great detail. A sword formation? Jian Wushuang gasped with wonder. The enduring samsara formation becomes virtually invulnerable once it reaches full maturity. Even with the knowledge of its pressure point, you will also require a powerful force to fully threaten it. None of you in the green fire world possess of such strength. That is why you can only rely on a sword formation. Xian Yi elaborated on his instructions. Understood, teacher. Jian Wushuang answered. Xian Yi then taught Jian Wushuang the skill set needed for the sword formation. Now that you have the knowledge to use the sword formation, you will have 4 people standing upon the 4 points I have instructed to you earlier and attack the pressure point in unison. This will allow you to destroy the grand formation. Xian Yi directed. Remember, you have to reduce the duration needed to fuse all 4 of your powers. Tarry any longer, and the grand formation will grow stronger and stronger. Not even I will be able to help it if everything is too late. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, teacher. Jian Wushuang cried gratefully. There is no need for thanks. This will be a very perilous and trying hour for you and your 2 senior brothers. Just be careful. That is enough for me. Xian Yi left him a smile as he terminated the connection of their communication. How was it, Jian Wushuang? The palace masters standing around him all looked at him hopefully. Jian Wushuang exhaled lightly and gazed around him. Loudly, he announced, My teacher has taught me the skill set for using a sword formation. With it, we shall be able to destroy the grand formation of the enduring samsara formation. A sword formation? The palace masters around him could hardly believe their ears. Master Yun, you are the most gifted and the most learned in the skills of conjuring magical formations. This is the sword formation that my teacher had just taught me to use. Would you please have a look and see if it will work? Jian Wushuang recorded the teachings of his mentor into writing and showed it to Palace Master Yun. Knowing that there might be doubt and skepticism from the many palace masters present despite his own complete faith in his teacher, Jian Wushuang had divulged the method instructed to him by his Xian Yi. I will first have a look. Palace Master Yun said, and he immediately began poring through the details. The assembly of palace masters waited in silence, as did Jian Wushuang, as they hoped for the best. After some time, Palace Master Yun finally came to a conclusion. Jian Wushuang. The elderly palace master turned to face Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, right before the staring eyes of the entire assembly, he bowed respectfully to Jian Wushuang. Master Yun, what are you doing? Jian Wushuang uttered with shock. The entire crowd around them was instantly stunned. Palace Master Yun rose to his feet and smiled. The respects I paid were not for you, but your teacher. It is he who has given us of the green fire world a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope. The news brought joyous anticipation of optimism to everyone around. The words of Palace Master Yun had affirmed that Xian Yi's instruction would work in destroying the Grand Formation. Indeed. It will work? The Samsara Temple Master asked with impatiently. Jian Wushuang's teacher is, without doubt, one of the greatest masters in the skills of using magical formations. Even the most complex grand formation of the enduring samsara have been easily dissected and examined with such ease to him. Even the sword formation that he had taught was exceedingly complicated. The grand formation would most likely be destroyed as long as we follow the instructions he had left for the sword formation. Palace Master Yun announced. Chapter 12:24, The Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. Chapter 12:24, The Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. It will most likely work. The palace masters around instantly erupted with cheers and applause at the confirmation of Palace Master Yun. That is great. Jian Wushuang's teacher is invincible in the skills of using magical formations. Since we have the plans now, let not lose any more time. Some of the palace master urged anxiously. Let's not be hasty. Palace Master Yun waved dismissively before he continued, composed and reserved as he was. The methods proposed here will work. The sword formation that Jian Wushuang's teacher has imparted to him is also complex and powerful. But there is a strict requirement for the 4 persons who will operate the formation. Ah! The sudden remark made everyone look at him. It is called the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. It requires 4 completely different sword principles that conflict with each other. This means that the 4 people operating the formation will each have to create a mighty sword principle of their own. What's more, the 4 would have to at least be universe masters. Palace Master Yun explained gravely. Create the most mighty sword principle. And they have to be at least a universe master. The palace masters present were all taken aback by the sudden notice of predicaments. It would hardly be a hindrance if only the strengths of universe masters were required. Unlike 80 years ago, the current green fire world has produced more than 20 universe masters, all of whom could have been easy candidates for the sword formation. But they now encountered a conundrum: the 4 chosen warriors would have to create a most powerful sword principle. The creation of the strongest sword principle, which was a feat of intense difficulty. The strongest sword principle had always remained a myth in the green fire world. There has only been a handful of people who have been able to create sword principles of such tremendous power and potency in 40 million years. But now, they needed 4 such virtuosos of martial skills, all of whom must be capable of forging the strongest sword principle. This was an impossible task. Where in the entire green fire world are we going to find such people? Red Lotus asked absent-mindedly. Even the rest of the palace masters have turned sullen and dejected. But Jian Wushuang, hardly beaten, rumbled instead, we have. There are 4 such warriors in the green fire world. Ah! This made everyone look at him. The Sunrise Sword Emperor and I have both once created the strongest sword principles of our own. In fact, we have forged 2. Moreover, I have an additional original body which wields also the strength of a universe master. I alone can operate 2 of the 4 points of the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. With the Sunrise Sword Emperor, we will now have 3 points covered. Jiang Wushuang said. That is true. The eyes of the assembled masters twinkled once more with hope. Jian Wushuang had displayed the prowess of his two original bodies in the battle before. Despite not fully equal in strength, both of his bodies possessed the strength of universe masters. With the two strongest sword principles of his creation at hand, his original bodies could adequately man 2 of the 4 points of the sword formation. Your original bodies do possess the requirements. As long as the sword principles you wield are different and the bodies are able to act as separate entities. Palace Master Yun nodded at his assent. But we are still short of one more. Red Lotus frowned with distress. Everyone. Please forget not my father, who has created also the strongest sword principle of his own. Jian Wushuang announced. Your father. The rest of the assembled masters were surprised. Jian Nantian. Another prodigy in swordsmanship whose talents and skills were no less wanting if compared to Jian Wushuang and the Sunrise Sword Emperor. It was due to an injury which he had suffered during his youth that his potential has waned. Then again, he was still a powerful swordsman whose strength none dared question nor challenge. It was no secret that Jian Nantian had once forged a strongest sword principle of his own. But it was due to his long years of wandering that his name did not come to the mind of the rest of the warriors of the Green Fire world. His travels that have brought him out of the domain of the Green Fire world and the emergence and fame of his own son, Jian Wushuang, had partially made him a forgotten myth. Jian Wushuang, your father has reached the level of Universe Master. Palace Master Yun looked to him inquiringly. Indeed, he has. But the voice did not come from Jian Wushuang. Rather, it was the Samsara Temple Master who had answered in Jian Wushuang's stead. Being the teacher of Jian Nantian, the Samsara Temple Master was also aware of Jian Nanshan's situation. During the preparations for war, we of the Green Fire Palace have amassed huge quantities of Nirvana elixirs. It was these elixirs which have helped bolster the ranks of our universe masters. Knowing that Jian Nantian himself possessed remarkable potential, I knew that it is very likely that he will be able to reach the level of universe master. Hence I have given him one of the elixirs and he has achieved success. It's just that he has yet to reach the Green Fire Palace. The Samsara Temple Master explained. The Green Fire Palace was extremely stringent in its distribution of Nirvana elixirs. Only holy masters who were close to achieving the rank of Universe Master would receive the elixirs as a supplement. With one Nirvana elixir, Jian Nantian had managed a breakthrough back then. The Sunrise Sword Emperor, although possessing strength equal to that of a Universe Master, was only a holy master. He had consumed one of the 4 Nirvana elixirs procured by the Green Fire Palace during their battle for the Loyalty Palace. Alas, his efforts had yet to bear fruit. The Nirvana elixirs could only be consumed once. If its effects had yielded only failures, additional consumption of the elixir would hardly help. I have earlier communicated with my father. He will come to join us in this battle once he has made necessary arrangements for my mother. Jian Wushuang explained. That is great. Palace Master Yun beamed with delight. Pray to send word that he hasten. With him, you and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, you shall operate the quadruple supreme sword formation. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and left to deliver another message to his father. For years, Jian Nantian and Ji Wumeng have been wandering around from glen to glen upon the wide swords of the Green Fire world, enjoying their travels across the Void Continent, the Samsara Continent and many other ancient worlds. But he had interrupted his travels ever since word of the fateful war between the Green Fire world and the Jin Kingdom came to him. He began to make arrangements for Ji Wumeng and prepared himself for the battles ahead. He was, after all, a member of the Green Fire world. With the Nirvana elixir which had helped propelled him into the ranks of Universe Master, the current Jian Nantian was also one of the most formidable warriors of the Green Fire world. Receiving words from Jian Wushuang, he immediately set off for the battlefield. With only a few days, he reached the battle fortress. Father. Jian Wushuang could hardly suppress a smile as he beheld the proud and stern man before him who was his father. Jian Wushuang could distinctly feel that his father's presence was no longer what it was through his years of wandering. The Jian Nantian of old held Ji Wuming dear to his heart, constantly concerned about her well-being. But his years of traveling with her seemed to have mellowed him out. Mother is well? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Jian Nantian nodded. In truth, it hardly makes any difference. None will be spared from the merciless onslaught of the Jin kingdom should we lose this battle. We will not lose the battle, father. Jian Wushuang remarked vehemently. Indeed. Because we cannot afford any failure. Jian Wushuang agreed and smiled. The father and son shared a few words before they joined Sunrise Sword Emperor in studying the quadruple supreme sword formation. Chapter 1225, The Fire Puppet. Chapter 1225, The Fire Puppet. It was in a dark, vast expanse. This was the Oblivion Palace, the site where Jian Wushuang had fought against the celestial master Malignity in a fierce and furious duel. It was in the dark hemlock of the huge darkness in the Oblivion Palace that Jian Wushuang's two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, were standing together. A token hung in mid-air before them. In it was the instructions to operate the quadruple supreme sword formation. This is the quadruple supreme sword formation. A formation that combines our attacks into one. Jian Nantian asked as studying it curiously. Indeed, it combines our powers and amplifies it greatly if we are able to bring out its greatest potential. With the powers of this sword formation, we will be able to unleash a force that will even surpass that of the monarch of the Jin kingdom and destroy the grand formation by striking at its pressure point. Jian Wushuang explained. I see. Let us hasten then. We must master the skills of using this sword formation as fast as we can. The Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Indeed, time is of the essence. Jian Nantian nodded somberly. Immediately, the four began their rehearsals in the midst of the shrouding darkness. In this dimension, the four could practice freely without fear of being disturbed. Knowing that time was a luxury for them, they trained and rehearsed for night and day without rest. Time fleeted by swiftly. With a blink of an eye, so passed a year. An uneasy peace had endured quietly in the past year between the Jin kingdom and the Green Fire world. There had not been any clashes or disputes between both factions, not even the most insignificant conflict. The only jot of unrest lied only with the black and white swirling mass of energy that has been ceaselessly spinning thousands of miles away from the battle fortress. One could hardly remember its feebleness when it was first conjured a year ago. But the vortex had outgrown its original size in leaps and bounds in merely 12 months that it was now a gargantuan monstrosity. Within the fastness of the Oblivion Palace. Attack! Thunderous cries came from four corners of the sword formation in unison as the figures brandished their blades as one. For jets of sword essences shot into the air. The four geysers of energies poured with incredible strength, shuddering with terrifying force. The bolts of energies tore through the air and came down together and bombarded the empty space at the center of the four. Boom! The fabric of space at the center tore asunder by the huge force, forming a void that threatened to engulf all mass and matter around it. Jian Wushuang's two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, regarded with cold indifference at their handiwork. Almost there. Jian Wushuang could not help a smile of satisfaction. The magic of this sword formation is really complex that it has taken a year and countless hours of practice for us to fully grasp the subtle finesse needed to properly operate this formation. Jian Nantian smiled. We can hardly wait no longer. We have expended a year's time. Despite not having a perfect mastery of the formation has been able to produce a peak yield of energy with our current skills. That should be enough. The Sword Emperor remarked. I concur. Jian Nantian nodded. Let us prepare ourselves then. We strike tomorrow. Jian Wushuang proclaimed. Very well. The Sword Emperor and Jian Nantian both agreed. The next day, the forces of the Green Fire World assembled at the edges of the fortress. Shielded by the magical barriers of the battle fortress, they looked over and saw the gargantuan vortex swirling menacingly before them. The vortex now spanned thousands of kilometers wide like a terrifying and monstrous abomination. Yet despite its size, the black and white spinning vortex was still growing at blinding pace. In only a year, it has grown to such horrifying bulk, reaching for thousands of kilometers, and yet it still grows. If given another year to grow, I wager it will enlarge into a terrible mammoth in hundreds of millions of kilometers wide. Palace Master Yun moaned gravely. Hundreds of millions of kilometers wide? The warriors of the Green Fire World were all shocked with the ominous premonition. It was understandable, for even Universe Master needs some time to travel across such vast distances. Yet, the grand formation before them would grow into such egregious hugeness in only a year. Despite its size, the vortex's drawing force is still yet to fully mature. Universe Masters are able to withstand its pull. We are hardly affected by its force, the battle fortress's protective barriers. But if it were to grow again for another year, the drawing force would increase at least 100-fold. By then, even a Universe Master will not be able to resist its pull and even be instantly obliterated. This battle fortress will also be engulfed by the vortex in 10 years. Palace Master Yun explained with detail. We strike now. We must now lose any more time. Jian Wushuang spoke pensively. Samsara Temple Master, is the puppet fighter ready? It is. The Samsara Temple Master nodding as he waved his hand and summoned a silvery figure that appeared before him. It was a puppet fighter clad in silver armor, armed with a long, silver spear. The puppet fighter bore the appearance of a man of stern demeanor. His eyes showed no emotions, gleaming with a cold silvery blush. Is that the puppet fighter that could fight against the monarch of the Jin Kingdom? Jian Wushuang looked at the puppet in silver armor and felt a cold shiver. This puppet fighter was the trump card of the Green Fire World aside from battle formations and the battle fortress. A puppet fighter that could best even the monarch of the Jin Kingdom himself. The flame deity puppet. Moreover, one of the level of silver armor. The Gu King's voice rose with amazement from within Jian Wushuang. Do you know what this puppet, Gu King? Asked Jian Wushuang. Of course I do. The Gu King smiled thinly with pride. The fire deity puppet is well renowned in the eternal chaotic world. It has 3 different classes: copper armor, silver armor, and gold armor. The copper armor counterpart of this puppet possesses strength equal to that of the monarch of the Jin Kingdom. Hence, it is likely that this silver armor puppet would be more powerful than the monarch. But sadly, this puppet has been damaged. With the Green Fire World lacking fire crystals, this puppet might not be able to relive its former glory. But still, it should be able to hold off the monarch for some time. That alone, the puppet is capable of. Of course. As long as it is able to buy us time. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. With the possibility that the monarch could be lurking nearby, they need someone to hold him off while Jian Wushuang and his comrades conjure the sword formation to destroy the enduring samsara formation. But with no one in the Green Fire World being able to pit evenly against the monarch, they could only rely on the fire deity puppet. Chapter 1226, Fighting. Chapter 1226, Fighting. With the vortex growing to such size, the spaceship of the Jin Kingdom had long retreated farther away, leaving on the monarch of the Jin Kingdom with the woman who was the conjurer of the formation nearby. I will leave this puppet fighter with you, Jian Wushuang. Everything hinges upon your success. Go with our blessings and hope. The Samsara Temple Master said to him gravely. Leave everything to me. Jian Wushuang nodded to him as he received control of the puppet fighter. Father, Sword Emperor, we strike now. Jian Wushuang muttered, his eyes burning with conviction as his second original body materialized beside him. Of course. Having readied themselves, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor were already waiting for Jian Wushuang's signal. They disembarked the fortress and the four flew towards the eye of the spiraling vortex. But the proud contemptuous conjurer of the vortex, Jiu Shi at its eye instantly noticed their auras once they took into the sky. At last. After 1 year, the green fire world has finally begun to act. Jiu Shi cast her gaze into the distance, studying at the four figures coming at her. What are they thinking of doing? Do they not intend to destroy the formation? But for 1 year they have waited and the grand formation has grown to such size. Is it not too late? Jiu Shi wondered as she felt pleased and confident with herself. Even in the realm of the eternal chaotic world, the enduring samsara formation was flagrantly notorious as a formation that could easily destroy worlds and lay waste to dimensions. Surely its magic could never be easily undone. Moreover, the grand formation had cultivated itself to its current deformity over the past year. It would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to destroy the grand formation now. It is unfathomable that the green fire world, a domain which has little to nil dealings with the eternal chaotic world, would have any way to destroy the grand formation. Surely it could not even be possible. Yet despite her overbearing confidence in her impending success, Jiu Shi was careful enough to immediately contact the monarch of the Jin Kingdom. The monarch had also been hiding nearby for the entire year. Finally, there came an opportunity for him to shake off his year-long restlessness. Jian Wushuang. The monarch had been observing the four approaching figures when they approached. A wicked and sinister smile lined across his face. It was by sheer luck that you have been able to slip through my fingers last time. But you will never be so lucky this time. The four flew closer and closer to the eye of the vortex under the watchful eye of the monarch observing them. We are nearing the eye of the vortex. But why is the monarch of the Jin Kingdom not showing himself? Jian Nantian wondered, his face wearing a solemn expression of concern. Have no worry, father. I have found his approximate position and I am still observing him. I will release the flame deity puppet upon him if he shows himself so that he would not be able to disturb us. The woman is only an ordinary universe master. I have something prepared for her. Jian Wushuang said to him. He had long projected his strength of soul to locate the position of the disguised monarch who could still be oblivious to the vulnerability of his concealment. This was the advantage of using his strength of soul. The strength of soul was a form of energy most powerful and potent. It was only through his inverse cultivation that Jian Wushuang had been able to harness such powers. Then again, this was merely a fraction of the strength's full potential and faculties. Ah! I see he can wait no more. Jian Wushuang noticed, the edge of his lips curling. His senses had picked up the movements of the monarch who was now coming at them stealthily. Ha ha ha! Despite possessing strength greater than that of mine, the monarch intends to put me to death by using camouflage and ambush. Hardly a conduct befitting that of a king. Jian Wushuang chuckled with disdain. He waited until the monarch was about thousands of kilometers away before he threw his arms outwards. A silvery flash of light shot from the folds of his sleeve. Boom! The flame deity puppet emerged imperiously with a strong and terrifying aura that poured forth with the force of a broken dam, an indomitable and staggering presence which could deflate even a universe master such as the Samsara Temple Master himself. His cold eyes flared with a silver glint, training upon the monarch of the Jin Kingdom under the commands of Jian Wushuang. He began to move, striding forward towards the monarch. With one single step, the puppet defied all laws of physics as his step landed him directly in front of the monarch. He had covered thousands of kilometers with one single step. The tip of his silvery spear rose like a bolt of lightning as the puppet brandished the weapon and stabbed furiously at the monarch. What did they do? Even the monarch himself was taken aback by the sudden haste of the puppet's attack. He had not expected Jian Wushuang to have locked on to his position, nor had he expected that he would be under attack suddenly. Swift and strong was the stroke unleashed by the puppet that even the monarch broke into cold sweat. This unknown warrior possessed strength hardly inferior to his, in fact, it could even be stronger than his. Humph. The monarch grunted with defiant rage and summoned into his grasp his black spear. The long polearm gleamed with a supple blush as it appeared, heeding its master's call. My weapon, the spear of the secluded rainbow. The eyes of the monarch sparkled with malice as he swung his spear in an arc and it collided ferociously with the silvery spear. Clang! Steel grated against steel as the ruthless and brutish gnashing of metals produced angry sparks. The sheer explosive force caused by the collision threw the fabric of space around the weapons into disarray. The monarch's look turned into one of ugliness and rage as he was thrown backward by the explosion. He staggered a few steps frantically in less than a dozen steps, each step he took sent him thousands of kilometers away. Instead, the flame deity puppet was hardly affected by the blast. The silvery armor-clad figure merely paused and threw himself forward, hurtling towards the monarch for another bout. The silver-armored puppet fighter does indeed live up to its name. To think that he could best the monarch in strength and power. Jian Wushuang was gleeful. He looked at his companions and said, "The puppet fighter has bought us time. Let us strike now." Very well. The Sword Emperor and Jian Nantian both agreed. As they full well knew, they now held in their hands the very fate of the entire Green Fire world. The survival of the Green Fire world was hinged upon their success. But if they were to fail, the vortex of the grand formation of the enduring samsara would continue growing and the Green Fire world would be engulfed by it. Attack! With the cue of Jian Wushuang's thunderous battle cry, his two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor split. The four figures streaked rapidly through the air and swiftly assumed their positions according to the sword formation as instructed by Xian Yi. As he flew, Jian Wushuang threw another wary glance at the proud woman Jiu Shi. Being an ordinary universe master, I doubt your powers will be able to obstruct us. But it would be best that you are kept from us. Jian Wushuang muttered and flicked wrist again. A hulking figure emerged out of thin air into view. Keep her occupied so that she cannot be in our way, Fu Yi. It would be better too if you can take her alive. Jian Wushuang commanded him. Jian Wushuang had made such arrangements as a precautionary measure. In the event of failure, they might still be able to wring answers out of Jiu Shi. She might be in possession of the knowledge to remove the grand formation, seeing as she was the conjurer of the grand formation. Fu Yi's eyes twinkled once as he acknowledged Jian Wushuang's order. A huge battle axe appeared in his grasp as he pounced at Jiu Shi. Ah! So you lot have come to destroy the grand formation and you have brought along a puppet fighter which is strong enough to fight against Lord Jin Feng. But your efforts will all be for naught no matter how hard you try. Jiu Shi smiled wickedly to herself. Seeing as Fu Yi came charging at her, she drifted into the undulations of the churning energies rolling around the vortex. Chapter 12:27, The Turning Tide. Chapter 12:27, The Turning Tide. The flame deity puppet was holding off the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Whereas Jiu Shi was busy evading from the pursuits of Fu Yi. The path was clear, there was no one else between Jian Wushuang with his companions and the gargantuan black and white vortex. In only fractions of a second, Jian Wushuang's two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor reached their designated positions. My original bodies are ready. How are you? Jian Wushuang asked. I am in position. Jian Nantian replied. So am I. The Sunrise Sword Emperor nodded as well. Very well. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang notified his companions. For Jet's energies shot into the sky, the sword essences released by the four figures, streaking through the air towards the eye of the spinning vortex. She flitted back and forth through the rapid flows of energies as she evaded from the rampaging Fu Yi. But she instantly took notice of the four streaking sword essences tearing through the sky. Ah! A squinch of a doubt was evident upon her face as she felt a foreboding dread. The positions of the four seemed unusual. From the trails of the sword essences, she could clearly sense the positions of the four people, knowing that they must be part of an intricate design. The four positions represent the most vital points of the grand formation. These 4 points connect the backbone of the entire formation, which leads to the eye of the vortex, which is also the heart of the grand formation. How is it possible that they have found these 4 positions? Jioshi's expression began to turn ugly. She had been basking in her hubris-soaked confidence, trusting fully that none from the Green Fire world would never be able to adequately read the grand formation and point out its secrets. But now, however, realizing that her enemies might have discovered her secret, she began to feel fear and desperation creeping into her. At the same time, she began to realize the motives of Jian Wushuang and his companions as they launched their attacks. Is that a battle formation they are using? One which consolidates their attacks and concentrates their power. She could hardly believe what she saw, the stabbing feeling of fear reaching its climax. They have completely seen through the secrets of the grand formation, and they intend to destroy it by using a sword formation to focus their attacks upon its eye. She searched frantically for answers to the enemy's gambit that now threatened her plans. She cast a swift look at the monarch of the Jin Kingdom, who was still far away, intending to reach out for his help. But she immediately found that the monarch was being held in a fierce battle against the flame deity puppet. Not only the monarch could not come to her help, but he himself was also in danger of losing in battle. Damn it! How is it possible that somebody from the Green Fire world is able to find the weaknesses of my grand formation? Who is it? She growled frantically. Jian Wushuang and his companions were already channeling their powers together as one. The enduring samsara formation would be able to bring out its greatest potential and deal a fatal stroke to the grand formation once their stroke fell. This cannot continue. I will lose the rewards promised to me by Lord Jin Feng if the grand formation fails. Knowing full well that her earlier efforts could well sink or swim, Joshi's look turned dark as she realized she must strike quickly and hard. She turned and moved, heading towards the direction of the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Despite being hardly skillful in martial techniques, she was armed to the teeth with various means for unconventional combat and movement techniques, allowing to her to dart and swoop deftly away from Fu Yi, who was rapidly losing her. Swiftly, Jiushi bore down on the Sword Emperor with Fu Yi far behind. By now, the four were already in the final phase of their attack. But Jiushi appeared suddenly behind the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Her figure had barely materialized when she crushed a mysterious token she held in her hand. The token crumbled into pieces, and, boom! A deafening and terrible explosion erupted. An overwhelming force surged in that very instant as 3 golden dragons appeared behind the Sunrise Sword Emperor. The slithery dragons intertwined together, fusing into a bolt of golden flash that struck and hit the Sunrise Sword Emperor. What? The Sword Emperor's eyes opened wide in disbelief. He had noticed Jiushi creeping near him. But being in the most critical phase of their attack, he had chosen to endure whatever attacks that Jiushi would unleash at him, believing that the woman's blow would hardly be able to endanger him. With the complement of his protective raiments and treasures, he had chosen to weather the enemy's attack in order to maintain his hold on their offense. The Sword Emperor, as a powerful warrior himself, would at most suffer severe injuries. He had not expected that Jiushi's powers would be able to kill him. Only never did he expect that Jiushi had used a magical token she had in her keeping. Worst still, the powers contained within the magical token was stronger even than a blow by the monarch of the Jin Kingdom himself. The golden projectile hit him squarely without him being able to react. The blow struck a hole in his chest, crushing his heart as his life began to ebb away. I. Frozen in his stance, the Sword Emperor uttered a few incomprehensible mumbles. His gaze became blank and distant as he began to lose consciousness, his aura plummeting into nothingness. He began to lose control of his body, beginning to fall. A look of calm and serenity crept into his eyes as if he was released from long years of toil and torment. With his final ounce of strength, he left his final words to his comrades, Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and the host of warriors who had been watching intently from the battle fortress. I'm sorry. It was merely 2 words, yet these were 2 words that bore a saddening weight of pain and anguish. The Sunrise Sword Emperor breathed his last as his eyes blinked shut finally. With life left from his body, his corpse was drawn into the vortex and subsequently devoured. The final moments of his life were witnessed by Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian as well as the warriors within the battle fortress. None of them could barely move. They have painfully witnessed, with their own eyes, how he was killed by the golden flash of light that penetrated his body like needle passing through a cloth, and they have watched, with excruciating agony, how he was being swallowed into the vortex when he had finally passed. Rage and fury came swiftly like lightning. Sword Emperor. Sunrise Sword Emperor. Unforgivable. Screams of anger and rage thundered from within the fastness of the battle fortress. And oh! Not far away, the original bodies of Jian Wushuang jointly released a booming roar that illustrated both his grief and wrath. The Sunrise Sword Emperor. The most glimmering beacon of hope of the Green Fire world before the emergence of Jian Wushuang. The undisputable sword cultivator of the highest order and the greatest prodigy in combat skills ever known. Being an ordinary practitioner of martial skills and a holy master, these odds had never stopped him from cultivating and fusing his 2 strongest sword principle as one to harness powers comparable to that of a universe master. He was the 3rd behind Jian Wushuang and Ji Wumeng, who had been pegged as future chieftains of the Green Fire Palace, prodigious talents who could one day stand eye to eye against the monarch of the Jin Kingdom. Blessed with unique talents and shouldering the hopes of many, he would long have embarked upon a pilgrimage into the eternal chaotic world to try reaching for greater heights if not for the strifes which have plagued the Green Fire world. And now, in order to destroy the grand formation of the enduring samsara for the good of the entire Green Fire world, the Sunrise Sword Emperor had breathed his last, only because he had chosen to sustain the synchrony for the sword formation to function. And now, right under the eyes of the horde of warriors of the Green Fire, he had fallen with utter ignominy. Chapter 12:28, The Fall of the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Chapter 12:28, The Fall of the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Is he dead? The events did not escape the observation of the cold and contemptuous woman as she smiled wickedly, evidently satisfied with the results of her review. This token was given to me by that most prodigious senior brother of mine. It contains the explosive powers of his strike. You should be proud to have fallen under his stroke. Outrageous. Jian Wushuang stared angrily at the woman as he cursed through gritted teeth, seething with intense fury and malice boiling within him. But he quickly repressed his rage and bloodlust. We must leave now. Jian Wushuang roared with exasperation. His original bodies followed behind Jian Nantian as they withdrew back to the battle fortress. Jian Wushuang and his father were fully aware that with the fall of the Sunrise Sword Emperor, they have lost the capability to use the quadruple supreme sword formation to destroy the monstrous vortex. Hence, they could only retreat back into the battle fortress and make another plan. Jian Wushuang did indeed want to immediately execute the woman, Jiu Shi, for the sacrilege she had committed. But the distance between them and Jiu Shi's prowess in escaping have left him with hardly any other choice. Despite their discontentment and rage, they could withdraw back to the fortress. Still, even the notion of a retreat was not without difficulty. You will never get away. It was the monarch of the Jin Kingdom who had snarled at them. Despite being desperately defending himself against the fire puppet earlier, he was slowly regaining the upper hand. The monarch had noticed that the puppet fighter was losing strength rapidly. This is bad. The fire gems are nearly depleted. Jian Wushuang became jittery with anxiety. He had been controlling the fire puppet, he would surely know about its situation. The remaining fire gems would only allow the fire puppet to continue operating for merely seconds. And with that few seconds, the monarch could easily catch up to them and strike them down like predators swooping down on their prey. Few seconds. Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold as he searched wildly for solutions, and one came to him instantly. Keep the monarch occupied, fire puppet. Jian Wushuang barked his command while his second original body veered off their way back to the fortress. Instead, the original body flew towards the fire puppet who was still in combat against the monarch. Having received his orders, the fire puppet fought to his utmost as the last remaining fragments of the slowly burned. It had bought Jian Wushuang a few seconds of time. With its energies exhausted, the puppet froze in its movements, hanging motionless in midair. With his long-awaited opening, the monarch hurled himself forward, eager to catch up to Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian. But Jian Wushuang's first original body and Jian Nantian were still thousands of kilometers away from the fortress. It was a distance that usually passed swiftly for him. Yet, now, the journey back to the fortress seemed like an eternity. You have been fortunate to slip through my fingers once. Do you think I will let you slip by again? The monarch growled viciously, his face gleeful with malice. His figure streaked with an explosive speed as he chased after his prey as he imagined himself dealing the final blows to them both. However, at this moment... Swish! A flicker of light blinded the monarch momentarily as he braced himself. It was Jian Wushuang's second original body who had turned back earlier. Okay. The monarch wore a dark, ugly look as he beheld his new target briefly. Eager to continue his chase, the spear in his grasp stabbed at the original body with the speed and intensity of a striking serpent. With hardly any incident, the monarch instantly drove his spear through the second original body. He then cast a look forward, ready to continue his pursuit. But suddenly... Explode! There was a strange, frenzied expression upon the face of Jian Wushuang's second original body. Boom! The second original body exploded into smithereens. Shockwaves from the explosion rippled through the air, rolling towards all directions. Self-detonation. The monarch of the Jin kingdom gasped incredulously. He had not foreseen that Jian Wushuang would be eager to come to such lengths, to sacrifice one of his doppelgangers just to stop him. Shaken violently by the shock wave himself, the monarch was momentarily thrown off balance. He readied himself to continue his pursuit, only to find that he was too late. Jian Wushuang had escaped. He's escaped again. This wretch is indeed a slithery one. The monarch barked angrily, his face darkened with rage. The news that a Dao master had been able to slip past his clutches not once, but twice, would be tremendously pernicious to his name. Lord Jin Feng. Jiu Shi reappeared at the side of the monarch, looking at him with an amused smirk. This Jian Wushuang has the most remarkable fortune indeed. Twice he has defied you and yet twice he is able to escape. Humph. The monarch merely snorted indignantly without muttering any words. The pair stood wordless and motionless for a brief moment. The monarch turned and glanced at Jiu Shi. What happened earlier, Jiu Shi? Jiu Shi's features immediately turned gloomy with annoyance. I did not expect that the Green Fire world has someone who is able to divine the weaknesses of the enduring samsara formation. The four earlier were trying to use a sword formation by standing above the four vital parts of the enduring samsara formation, ready to strike at its fatal point to destroy it. It was fortunate that I was able to react swiftly and use the token that my senior brother had given to me to kill one of the four. Otherwise, the grand formation would have been destroyed by their hand. Ah! The monarch's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Were you not supremely confident in this enduring samsara formation of yours? How is it possible that its secrets were so easily divined? She merely pursed her lips and frowned, unable to retort against the monarch's mocking words. Never in her life, she had thought the events of this day were possible. Humph. It is fortunate that the formation still stands, lest it would have been a tremendous waste of my time and resources to have you here. The monarch scoffed. It was clear, through his tone and demeanor, that he has lost great faith and confidence in Jiu Shi and her formation. Please be at ease, Lord Jin Feng. That was merely a last-ditch daring-do of the Green Fire world. They have even put to use a puppet fighter that could nearly best you, only to have achieved nothing. I trust that they are at their wits' end now. Jiu Shi wore a wicked grin once again. That may be true. The monarch nodded. With a flick of his hand, he summoned the fire puppet to his flank. The fire puppet, having exhausted its entire store of fire gems, has now fallen into the hands of the monarch of the Jin kingdom. He had forcibly erased Jian Wushuang's mark that allowed the latter to control the puppet, so that he himself could claim ownership of it. He, a silver-armored fire puppet. The eyes of the monarch burned hungrily as he identified the puppet fighter. Many treasures abound this battlefield, that even a puppet fighter of such caliber exists. But now, they will all be mine. Just like this puppet. With the puppet now his, the monarch then helped Jiu Shi to subdue Fu Yi and claimed him as well. Chapter 1229, Desperate. Chapter 1229, Desperate. A grim mood filled the battle fortress. The battle was supposed to pave a way for the Green Fire world's victory. Instead, they not only failed to break the enduring Samsara formation but also lost the Sunrise Sword Emperor, who was the only flame deity puppet that could hold his own against the Jin Kingdom's monarch. Fu Yi had also been felled by the enemy. Jian Wushuang's second original body was destroyed. They had lost everything. It's over. The Green Fire world is done. We have no hope at all. Cries echoed through the battle fortress. Desperation reared its ugly head. Hopelessness clung to every thought. The morale of the Green Fire world was non-existent. If there was even an ounce of hope, the Green Fire world experts would continue to fight, regardless of the price. Even if they failed, it would have been worthwhile. But there was no more hope. The Green Fire world had no chance of survival, it was going to be swallowed by the big formation. In a magnificent temple, there were about 20 thrones arranged in a circle. Some were occupied, but the others were empty. All the remaining Green Fire World Palace Masters had gathered, but silence filled the chamber and even Jian Wushuang had nothing to say. Occasionally, a Palace Master would glance toward the empty throne near the Void Temple Master. The throne originally belonged to the Sunrise Sword Emperor. But now that he was gone, the throne sat empty. After nearly an hour, Jian Wushuang finally exclaimed. "It's my fault we were defeated." Jian Wushuang clenched both of his fists so tightly that his fingertips cut through his palm. He looked grim as he continued, "I underestimated the woman in the formation. I thought she was just an ordinary Universe Master and that a Universe Master peak puppet fighter was enough to stop her. But her clever tricks confused my puppet fighter, and she was able to kill the Sunrise Sword Emperor. I underestimated her. Everything that happened is my fault." Remorse racked Jian Wushuang's body. He led the action to break the formation, controlled the flame deity puppet, and deployed the Sunrise Sword Emperor and Jian Nantian. And instead of great victory, they suffered great casualties and lost the flame deity puppet. Jian Wushuang was naturally the one to blame. Hearing Jian Wushuang's words, the Samsara Temple Master next him shook his head and said, "We discussed it together, and acted according to the plan. You just carried out the plan. You alone cannot be blamed for the loss." "Yes. If it wasn't you, someone else would have done the same thing. We can only blame ourselves for underestimating that woman. We thought she only knew about formations and did not expect her to be that capable." The other palace masters echoed their agreement. No one would blame Jian Wushuang. He merely acted according to the plan and did not foresee the unexpected. Shuang'er. Jian Nantian looked at him. We're all responsible for this. Don't blame yourself. Now is not the time to apologize or to point fingers. We need to think about what to do next. What to do next? At the four simple words, the palace masters frowned in unison. Jian Wushuang seemed skeptical as well. Since the Sunrise Sword Emperor's death, the Green Fire world didn't have enough experts to form the four-point sword formation. Even if they did, they needed time to familiarize him with the formation, and by the time they were prepared, the four-point sword formation would probably still fail to break the spinning vortex. Gu King, you followed King Luo Zhen in the eternal chaotic world for such a long time, you must have learned a lot of things. Do you have a solution? Asked Jian Wushuang. Despite his vast knowledge, Gu King also felt hopeless in the face of the crisis. I can't. Gu King shook his head, dejected. Jian Wushuang trembled. All the palace masters in the temple forced a smile. They had relied completely on the four-point sword formation breaking the formation and considered it their only chance. Where would they find another strategy? Desperation. The palace masters, including the oldest Samsara Temple Master, the Void Temple Master, the Tang Emperor, the Red Lotus Palace Master, and Palace Master Yun were all distraught. Suddenly, they all suggested the insane. We will fight to the death. Even if the Green Fire world collapses, we'll give the Jin Kingdom hell. Palace Master Yun stood up and roared. Yes. Trapped beasts can still fight, so let's fight to the end. We'll take them down with us. The palace masters shook their fists angrily and madness gleamed in their eyes. Are we really a trapped beast? Jian Wushuang frowned. Just then, a message came. Who is it? Jian Wushuang was surprised but immediately responded, Senior brother, are you looking for me? The message was indeed from his senior brother Xue Lingtian. Junior brother, come out quickly. Xue Lingtian's excited voice beckoned. What is it? Skepticism filled Jian Wushuang's voice. Our master is coming. Xue Lingtian answered. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened in surprise, and he immediately jumped up. Jian Wushuang, has something happened? The palace masters who just decided to sacrifice their lives were confused by his reaction. There's something I have to attend to. Jian Wushuang answered. What's going on? Samsara Temple Master was even more puzzled. It's my master, he's here. Jian Wushuang answered solemnly. Your master? The palace masters were stunned. The master who had deciphered the enduring samsara formation and told them how to break it. The master who even Palace Master Yun admired and respected. Your master told you how to break the formation after receiving your message for help. He must also know that we have failed. If he has come in person, does it mean he has other ideas? The Samsara Temple Master became hopeful. The other Samsara Temple Masters looked at each other excitedly. They had hit a dead end, but with Jian Wushuang's master's arrival, hope grew in their hearts once again. Although the hope was infinitesimal, they would still try to catch it at all costs. Perhaps, the Master of Formation really does have other ways to break the formation. Palace Master Yun exclaimed. Let's meet him together. Right, we should. Following Jian Wushuang, the palace masters exited the temple. Chapter 1230, Master Arrives. Chapter 1230, Master Arrives. Inside the battle fortress, many of the strongest people in the Green Fire world scattered in all corners, and the atmosphere was extremely dull and desperate. At this time, many palace masters, including Jian Wushuang, hurried out from a towering temple. These palace masters all looked a little excited. Green Fire World's celestial masters and Tao masters saw them on the way. Where are they hurrying to? Have you noticed that they all seem a little excited? Yes, they do. Have they come up with other methods of breaking the formation? Is there still hope for us? Very likely, otherwise they wouldn't have been so excited. The entire battle fortress quickly became noisy. Many celestial masters and Tao masters followed the palace masters and rushed to the center of the battle fortress. In an open space, several figures stood there, including Jian Wushuang's two senior brothers, Xue Lingtian and Bai Hu. At the center, a friendly-looking white-robed man stood. He looked elegant and easygoing. Is that Jian Wushuang's master? Palace masters all fixed their gazes on the white-robed man. At the moment when they saw the white-robed men, they had a strange feeling. His aura was only an eternal realm and seemingly ordinary, but for some reason, they felt something strange. Master! Jian Wushuang came to the white-robed man and respectfully bowed. Xian Yi Master. Samsara Temple Master, along with many palace masters, bowed to the white-robed man with respect. They also learned the name Xian Yi from Jian Wushuang. They saluted as well. Even if his strength was not that mighty, such a profound master deserved to be respected. Moreover, Xian Yi was the Green Fire World's last hope. Get up! Xian Yi waved at Jian Wushuang, looked at Samsara Temple Master and others, then he laughed. You can all get up, I don't deserve it. Master, you came today for the enduring Samsara formation, is that right? Jian Wushuang asked directly. Yes. Xian Yi faintly nodded. I told you the method of breaking the formation, and I thought that you can crush the enduring Samsara formation with it. But you actually failed. So, I have to come by myself. You mean, there are other ways to break it? Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed. Although the enduring Samsara formation is a world-shattering formation, it's terrifying because it can evolve for a long time. As for now, it is weak. And it's just a balanced state of two extreme energies, nothing special. We can find ways to break it. Xian Yi smiled, looking confident. Hearing this, the present palace masters' faces all lit up. Xian Yi implied that he had other methods of breaking the formation. Even if he did not, he was confident to find one. Let's go see the enduring Samsara formation. Xian Yi smiled. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Xian Yi Master, this way please. Samsara Temple Master led the way for Xian Yi. The nearby Green Fire World Celestial Masters and Tao Masters all gawked at the sight of this. Who is that person? He's got some real deal. He actually made so many palace masters bow to him, and has Samsara Temple Master lead the way for him? But he's just an eternal realm. So what? I heard that he is the master of Wushuang Palace Master. He's got a disciple like Jian Wushuang, do you think he's capable or not? He has great knowledge of formation. He's said to have more knowledge than Palace Master Yun. He came up with the previous method to break the formation, but unfortunately, we underestimated the opponent and failed. Wushuang Palace Master's master. No wonder. He probably came in person for the enduring Samsara formation. The entire battle fortress was discussing secretly. Xian Yi was only in the eternal realm. In the entire battle fortress, except Jian Wushuang's brother Wang Yuan, everyone else was above the Tao Master level. Normally, any one of them could kill Xian Yi. But now, the countless experts in the entire battle fortress all respected him. He was Jian Wushuang's master, naturally, no one dared to look down on him. Moreover, he had great knowledge of formation. On the way, Xian Yi asked causally, well, what is your achievement in sword principle now? I have now devised two of the strongest sword principles and a creation-level sword principle, but unfortunately, I have not found a way to integrate them, answered the disciple. If it was possible, he had already combined them and broke through to be a celestial master who possessed a Dharma body. In that way, he would have been able to challenge the Jin Kingdom monarch, and the Green Fire world would not have been so passive. But he could not find a way to break through. Don't worry, take your time, everything will be fine. Xian Yi smiled and asked again, which 3 sword principles have you developed? One is the sword play of coalescence, I've perfected it and devised the strongest sword principle. One is the spacetime sword principle, which is ultra-fast. It can affect the power of spacetime. It's also a strongest sword principle. The last one is the yin-yang sword principle, it combines yin and yang energy, and it is only a creation-level sword principle. Jian Wushuang answered in detail. Oh. Yin-yang sword principle. Xian Yi cocked one eyebrow and smiled mysteriously. After a few moments, Xian Yi came to the edge of the battle fortress following the palace masters. Through the restrictions, they saw clearly the spiraling vortex 100,000 miles away. Master Xian Yi, it's the enduring samsara formation there. Samsara Temple Master pointed to the vortex. I see. Xian Yi looked at the black and white vortex in the distance and faintly smiled. Fortunately, it has only expanded tens of millions of miles, it is still in its early stage. Early stage? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The larger it expands, the more stable it is. An expansion within 1 billion belongs to the early stage. If it exceeds 1 billion, it will be in the middle stage. By that time, we might fail to break it. But now, there is still a chance. Xian Yi explained. Chapter 1231, Break the Formation in Restrictions. Chapter 1231, Break the Formation in Restrictions. Do we still have a chance? Jian Wushuang's face lit up, but then he frowned again. Even if you can think of other ways, Flame Deity Puppet has fallen into the hands of the Jin Kingdom monarch. If we don't have anything to hold the Jin Kingdom, we can't get near to the vortex. Correct. Samsara Temple Master and others also nodded. The Jin Kingdom monarch stayed in the black and white vortex. And according to their plan, Flame Deity Puppet would hold the Jin Kingdom monarch back to gain them some time. But now, Flame Deity Puppet had been lost. There stood the Jin Kingdom monarch. The moment they approach, he would kill them in an instant. The Jin Kingdom monarch is a top expert above the universe master level, I can't confront him. Xian Yi smiled and continued, however, who says that you must get close to the core of the black and white vortex to break it? I will stay in this battle fortress and break the enduring samsara formation for you. What? Xian Yi said it casually, but the people around him were all shocked. Break the enduring samsara formation behind the battle fortress? The core of the enduring samsara formation, the black and white vortex, was 100,000 miles away. Was it possible to destroy it far away from it under the protection of the restrictions? Was this some kind of joke? Xian Yi Master, one who wants to destroy a formation, must first destroy the core of the formation. Now we're 100,000 miles away from the black and white vortex, how can we manage it? Palace Master Yun frowned and asked. He also had great knowledge of formation. Before he knew about Xian Yi, he believed that he was the top master of formation in the Green Fire world. He knew about formation and contended that it would be impossible to break it from a distance. But Xian Yi had said that. Can't we really destroy it without getting close to the core of the formation? I don't think so. Xian Yi shook his head and smiled. Xian Yi Master, are you really sure? Palace Master Yun still could not believe it. I'll try and you'll see. Anyway, you don't need to do anything for me. Even if I fail, there will be no consequences. Xian Yi smiled. True. The palace masters who were present nodded. If Xian Yi decided to break the formation behind the battle fortress, he naturally did not need soldiers to cover up for him or anything. My disciple. Xian Yi looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes? Jian Wushuang acted respectfully. No matter how other palace masters thought of Xian Yi, Jian Wushuang put his absolute trust in his own master. If he said that he could break the formation 100,000 miles away, he must have had a way. Haven't I grant you the mountain river map? I'll borrow it. Xian Yi replied. Mountain river map. Jian Wushuang cocked one eyebrow. The mountain river map was the most precious of the 3 treasures that Xian Yi gave him. It was a chaos divine treasure. Though it was somewhat defective, it was still invaluable. However, it was at a high level. Since Jian Wushuang obtained it, he had only used it once, in order to suppress Dao Yuanzi. And he had had help from King Luozhen's essence blood to display it. Now, though he had reached the Dao master level, he still found it very difficult to utilize the mountain river map. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang quickly took out the mountain river map and handed it to Xian Yi. Master, do I need to cancel my ownership? Jian Wushuang asked. Under normal circumstances, treasures only performed the best in its owner's hands. Since Xian Yi wanted to use the map, Jian Wushuang thought that he might need to cancel his ownership. Cancel your ownership? There's no need. Xian Yi shook his head. If you cancel your ownership, my effort would have been futile. Futile? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He failed to follow his master. Don't worry, just stand here and watch me. Xian Yi did not explain and slowly floated to the midair. Xian Yi floated directly to the void above. He stayed close to the restrictions and stopped before he almost crashed into them. Numerous Green Fire World experts inside the battle fortress had witnessed him. The Celestial Masters and Dao Masters all looked in doubt. What is the master of Jian Wushuang, Master Xian Yi, going to do? He seems to try to destroy the formation. But it's 100,000 miles away. How can he do it inside the battle fortress? I heard that Master Xian Yi plans to destroy the formation just inside the battle fortress. Inside the battle fortress? What are you talking about? The Celestial Masters and Dao Masters all looked in disbelief. All the palace masters were stunned and bore doubt in their hearts. Outside the battle fortress, at the core of the black and white vortex, the glamorous woman Jiu Shi, and the Jin Kingdom monarch hidden in the dark, also noticed the noise in the battle fortress. Despite the cover of the restrictions, they could still faintly see Xian Yi drifting at the edge of them, and even saw Xian Yi's realm. Eternal realm? What is the Green Fire World doing? The Jin Kingdom monarch and Jiu Shi were also baffled. At this time, Xian Yi floated to the void above and flicked his hand. Then, a streak of flowing light shot into the void. That is. The Jin Kingdom monarch and Jiu Shi both watched the thing Xian Yi threw out. It was a marvelous map. Xian Yi stretched to unfold the map completely. Then, it instantly merged into the heavens and earth and disappeared. This move seemed quite eccentric. But suddenly, buzz. A strange light shone brightly on the ground, on the vast battlefield. Such a dazzling light attracted all the people present. The Jin Kingdom monarch and Jiu Shi also looked up. The endless sky above their heads started to change. What? Everyone was eye-widened and full of horror watching the changes in the sky. Even the Jin Kingdom monarch looked horrified at this moment. The vast sky had been completely replaced by a huge and wonderful world scroll. This world scroll seemed endless. The black and white vortex had already expanded a lot, but the world scroll occupied the entire sky. Vast aura spread slowly from within the world scroll. Chapter 1232, Big Move, Part 1. Chapter 1232, Big Move, Part 1. This is. Everyone present widened their eyes and looked at the sky above in horror. They were looking at the huge world scroll. This world had mountains and waters and beautiful sceneries. The most striking thing was the 9 continents that spread over 9 different places, all of which looked real. A horrific and tremulous power spread, the Jin Kingdom monarch shouted. Divine treasure. This is a chaos divine treasure. The Jin Kingdom monarch also looked unprecedentedly shocked. Even in the eternal chaotic world, only super experts could have one of them. At his level, under normal circumstances, he could only see 1 or 2 of the chaos magic treasures. Now, the world scroll appeared above him was obviously the power of a chaos divine treasure. Humph, so what if it's a chaos divine treasure? It's just someone in the eternal realm, even if he has a chaos divine treasure, he can't display its full power. I'm afraid he can't depend on it to destroy the enduring samsara formation. Jiu Shi shouted coolly. Indeed, a chaos divine treasure was indeed strong, but the owner must be capable enough to play its full power. If one could not play the full power, it would still be as useless as eye candy. And just as everyone was in shock, Xian Yi, who floated in the void above the battle fortress, smiled slightly. Then, with a flick of the wrist, he threw a strange bead that was as dark as ink. This bead seemed mysterious, and all the people present, including the experienced Gu King, failed to recognize it. Then, the black bead immediately merged into the world scroll. Immediately, the scroll changed. Boom! The huge world scroll let out a sudden roar. In the 4 directions of the world scroll, there were 4 spiraling huge vortexes. After the vortexes stabilized, the energy within them formed 4 giant hands. Then, the hands stretched from within the vortexes toward the enduring samsara formation lightning fast. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at it all in amazement. He has already claimed ownership of the Mountain River map and was familiar with the ability of the Mountain River map. As far as he knew, the most terrifying thing in the Mountain River map was the 9-province seal formed by the 9 continents. But what Xian Yi displayed was not something that belonged to the Mountain River map. Jian Wushuang thought it might have something to do with the bead Xian Yi threw out. 4 giants' hands suddenly came to the core of the black and white vortex, and seized the 4 most important positions of it. These 4 positions were exactly where Jian Wushuang, Sunrise Sword Emperor, and Jian Nanshan stood when they set the quadruple supreme sword formation. This was where the core of the enduring samsara formation laid, but now it was caught by the 4 giant hands. Damn! The glamorous woman, Jiu Shi's expression changed dramatically. When she saw Xian Yi take out the chaos divine treasure, she did not pay much attention. But now the 4 giants had grasped the 4 most important parts of the formation, she became anxious. Master Jin Feng, quickly, destroy these 4 hands. Jiu Shi shouted repeatedly. All right. The Jin Kingdom monarch that hid at the core of the black and white vortex immediately nodded. He also realized that these 4 giants were really something. If he allowed them to continue, this formation would be in jeopardy. Kill! He shouted coldly, and terrifying power gathered on the spear. Immediately, the spear turned into lightning and directly slammed against the giant hand closest to him. Bam! With a bang, majestic power suddenly broke out and formed a blast wave, ruthlessly sweeping in all directions. The whole world even seemed trivial in front of this strong power. Three consecutive lights struck the black giant hand in the same spot. Bam! 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 After 3 loud noises had died down, the black giant hand was still intact. What? He was stunned. He did his best and still failed to destroy this black giant hand. Then, he immediately understood that he could not stop the 4 giant hands. When the 4 black giants seized the 4 voids, bam! Roars sounded one after another. The heavens and earth were shaking, and the 4 dark giant hands burst out terrifying power to try to move the enduring samsara formation. Gosh! Isn't that crazy? In the battle fortress, countless Green Fire World experts who had witnessed this scene all looked shocked. The enduring samsara formation had been expanding and developing for a year. It had exceeded tens of millions large. It was a huge thing, but now Xian Yi actually tried to move this big formation. Master, what is he going to do? Jian Wushuang was in shock. Gu King inside his body stared and exclaimed. Jian Wushuang, your master isn't breaking it. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He isn't. Then what's he doing? He tries to refine it. He wants to refine the enduring samsara formation. Gu King sounded shocked. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes. Refining the formation? Refine the enduring samsara formation that had already filled tens of millions of miles? How is this possible? Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. Not only him, Palace Master Yun, who discerned Xian Yi's intent, also froze. He didn't break the formation, but chose to refine it straight. How can he do this? This is simply crazy. Palace Master Yun was roaring madly in his heart. At the core of the black and white vortex, Jiu Shi looked completely in disbelief. To destroy it by refining it? How does an eternal realm try to refine my enduring samsara formation? Where does this crazy come from? Jiu Shi and Palace Master Yun were both confident of the formation. However, Xian Yi's method of breaking the formation was completely beyond their imagination, even beyond their understanding of the formation. Chapter 1233, Big Move, Part 2. Chapter 1233, Big Move, Part 2. Crazy. Xian Yi's move was crazy in the eyes of many. However, no one could stop his craziness. The four black giants firmly grasped the most important four parts of the formation. The huge hands moved, and the immense formation actually moved upward gradually. Impossible! Jiu Shi screamed. She could not believe her eyes. An eternal realm actually drove this enduring samsara formation that had evolved for a year. One must know that not even the Jin Kingdom monarch was able to move this large formation with all his strength. Jiu Shi stuttered and could not utter a complete sentence. The four giants pulled the whole enduring samsara formation slowly upward. Although it was slow like a snail, it was indeed moving. At this speed, they could pull the formation into the world scroll in at most half of a day. Master wants to pull the enduring samsara formation into the mountain river map and refine it? Jian Wushuang frowned. While the mountain river map is a chaos divine treasure, but it is still hard for it to contain the enduring samsara formation, right? No. At this time, Gu King spoke again, and he sounded even more terrified. Wrong, we guessed wrong. Wrong? Jian Wushuang was in doubt. When I saw him pulling the formation, I thought that he wanted to use the mountain river map to refine it to stop this crisis. But I never expected that your master had such a big move. Gu King was very excited. He is not refining the formation. Not from the beginning. He is refining weapons. Refining weapons? Jian Wushuang was shocked. They only wanted to destroy the formation. How did he start to refine weapons? Jian Wushuang, your mountain river map is indeed a chaos divine treasure. However, it's a damaged chaos divine treasure, you know that, right? Gu King said. Yes, indeed. Jian Wushuang immediately nodded, but at the next moment he just trembled. Is it? Jian Wushuang had already thought of a possibility, but this possibility left him in an unprecedented shock. Yes, your master is trying to use the formation to fix the mountain river map. He's refining weapons, he is repairing the mountain river map. Gu King said in a low voice. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked. He was completely at a loss. The numerous Green Fire World experts, including Palace Master Yun, all failed to touch the formation. But his master not only wanted to destroy but also used this enduring samsara formation to repair the damaged chaos divine treasure. It was a skill that would startle the universe. In both the green fire world and the eternal chaotic world, the skill was incredible. Monster. Jian Wushuang, your master is a complete monster, and he must come from the eternal chaotic world. If he's born in the green fire world, no matter how talented he is, he will never require such refining and formation knowledge. Even the founder of Star Bloodline and the formation master King Luo Zhen can't do this. Your master is definitely a real refining master and a formation powerhouse. Gu King was roaring wildly. Refining master. Formation powerhouse. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes. Master. In the eternal chaotic world, only the founder of the Star Bloodline, and the 8-star ancient god King Luo Zhen were qualified to be called masters. Had his master really reached that level in terms of refining and formation? However, although your master possesses great skills, he is indeed only an eternal realm. If his power is only an eternal realm, how could he manage to release a skill like that with his weak body? Gu King added. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. He also thought of this and looked in the direction of Xian Yi. Then, Jian Wushuang's countenance changed greatly. Xian Yi's aura and his vitality were rapidly decreasing. He was losing his energy at an alarming rate. Master! Jian Wushuang immediately exclaimed. I guessed right. Gu King nodded heavily. He not only used his spiritual power, but also his vitality. He let out all his strength to release the skill. When he succeeds, he will decrease. Decease. Jian Wushuang was awestruck. At this time, Xian Yi seemed to notice Jian Wushuang's gaze. He was still pulling the enduring samsara formation. He turned his head slightly and looked at Jian Wushuang. He looked still calm and smiled affectionately. At the same time, his gentle voice rang. My disciple, I will soon disappear, and before that, I will finally give you another creation. Master, Jian Wushuang wanted to say something. Xian Yi lifted his hand to stop him and said seriously, Don't, hurry up and do what I say. Yes. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands. Although he was grief-stricken, he suppressed his emotions hard. He knew very clearly that it was not the right time to be emotional. Xian Yi broke the formation at all costs and paved the way for him. He could only inherit the creation-level skill and reach the level his master expected to pay him back. My disciple, I had kept your ownership for this. Xian Yi's voice was solemn. You still control the mountain river map, and through the map, you should be able to sense the essence of the enduring samsara formation. The essence is a huge creation for you. Learn it thoroughly. This is an opportunity one created for you and the green fire world. You must cherish it. The green fire world's survival depends on you. Chapter 1234, The Ultimate Battle. Chapter 1234, The Ultimate Battle. Depends on me. Hearing Xian Yi, Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and tried his best to calm himself down. The next moment, he sat down directly and closed his eyes. The Green Fire World experts also heard Xian Yi's words and knew that Xian Yi created an opportunity for Jian Wushuang and for the Green Fire World at all costs. Thus, no one dared to disturb Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately started to sense the formation through the mountain river map and the 4 black giant hands. Only a moment later, he sensed the complete existence of the enduring samsara formation. Before, Jian Wushuang just watched the enduring samsara formation in the distance. He could see that the formation consisted of 2 extreme energies in circulation. However, he could not see the essence of the 2 energies. But now, through the mountain river map and the 4 giant hands that clung to the entire formation, Jian Wushuang saw the 2 forces clearly. Only for a moment, he saw the essence of 2 extreme forces. The 2 forces. So familiar. Familiar. This is the extreme power of the yang and the yin. Jian Wushuang's mind went blank as if he had been struck by a lightning. He immediately understood why his master said that the essence of the enduring samsara formation was a creation for him. It was indeed a creation, a once-in-a-lifetime creation. It's a combination of the two extreme forces, the yin and the yang. This is exactly the same yin and yang forces of my yin-yang sword principle. Many things instantly crossed Jian Wushuang's mind. The yin-yang sword principle he developed was a perfect combination of yin and yang strength. It is the same. The only difference is that after the combination, the two forces of the yang and the yin in the formation formed a circulation and reached a balanced state. They are in a unique state, which is the very samsara. Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes, which were full of intense light. I understand. I finally understand. A perfect combination of the two extreme yin and yang forces is samsara. When yin-yang sword principle reaches its peak, it becomes the samsara sword principle. Samsara. Jian Wushuang clenched both hands. He had devised 3 sword principles, among which the swordplay of coalescence and the spacetime sword principle were already the strongest sword principles. However, he never had improved the yin-yang sword principle, and even failed to know how. Now he realized that, beyond yin and yang, it was samsara. The samsara sword principle. Jian Wushuang roared in his heart and closed his eyes. He became completely absorbed in the circulation of the enduring samsara formation. He already had a hunch that, as long as he understood the structure of the circulatory state, his spacetime sword principle could be truly transformed into a samsara sword principle. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had cleared his head and became fully engaged in meditation. At the core of the black and white vortex, Jiu Shi watched the formation being pulled into the world scroll but could do nothing. Jin Feng, do something. Jiu Shi urged. Humph, you devised the formation. Not even you can stop it, what am I going to do? The Jin Kingdom monarch's face fell. He had just tried his best to stop but soon realized he had no chance to stop the 4 giant hands at all. It looks like that this formation will vanish soon. In the eyes of the Jin Kingdom monarch, there was a rush of coldness. He originally wanted to completely destroy the Green Fire world and all the experts in the battle fortress so that he could keep the entire battlefield to himself. But now, this plan was going to fail. The Jin Kingdom's soldiers and strength were much stronger than those of the Green Fire world. He was supposed to destroy the Green Fire world. However, he could not kill all of their experts. At most, he could destroy the Green Fire world, but he could not kill all of their experts. Their experts could take shelter in the battle fortress. In the future, when he started to search for the treasures on this battlefield after the end of the war, those surviving experts might come out and cause troubles. These ants in the Green Fire world are really stubborn. Since I can't kill them all at once, then I have to wipe out the Green Fire world first. As for the remaining experts, I'll deal with them later. The Jin Kingdom monarch decided. Immediately he sent a message to the Jin Kingdom experts in the spaceship far away from the battlefield. He had ordered them to act. In moments, a large number of Jin Kingdom experts flew out from the spaceship. There were at least several thousand of them. Among them, even the weakest ones were celestial masters, and there were more than 100 universe masters. This was Jin Kingdom's real strength. It was obviously different from the previous tentative attack. This time, it was the real ultimate battle. The Jin Kingdom was determined to destroy the Green Fire world this time. When the Jin Kingdom experts flew out of the spaceship, the Green Fire world experts in the battle fortress all noticed it. Even palace masters, including Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master, all looked grave at the sight of the rushing Jin Kingdom army. The final battle is finally coming. Palace masters such as Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master all looked stern. The Green Fire world experts looked grave as well. Actually, If the enduring samsara formation was destroyed in the end, they could totally take shelter inside the battle fortress, where the Jin Kingdom experts would never break into. Nevertheless, they all knew they could not avoid this war. After all, behind the battle fortress was the Green Fire World. If they did not fight, the Green Fire World would be finished. Their loved ones and good friends would be slaughtered by the Jin Kingdom. Billions of people in the Green Fire World and countless creatures would be killed. The land where they grew up and their homes would disappear completely. They had no choice. They had to fight. Before the Jin Kingdom army marched into the Green Fire World, they must stop them at all costs. Fight! 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 Numerous Green Fire World experts gathered on the perimeter of the battle fortress. The Dao Masters had already formed a tactical formation, determined. Chapter 1235, Blood Fire Elixir. Chapter 1235, Blood Fire Elixir. Palace Master Yun, are the seeds of our Green Fire World ready? Samsara Temple Master looked at Palace Master Yun next to him. They're ready. Palace Master Yun replied with a serious nod. We have selected 1 million disciples from various forces, populations, and countries on Void Continent and Samsara Continent. We have accommodated them in a specially reserved place. We've opened our portal so that they can be transferred here anytime. 1 million. Samsara Temple Master and the other palace masters around him were dumbfounded. In the face of this type of calamity, they must prepare for the worst. 1 million genius disciples might seem adequate, but they were actually insignificant in the entire Green Fire World. One must know that on the Samsara continent, some medium populations might have a population of more than 1 million. This was the best they could do. They could not get everyone inside the battle fortress. It could not hold that many people, but 1 million at most. Thus, they only chose some promising junior disciples. Palace Master Yun, I'll leave these disciples to you. Samsara Temple Master said in a low voice. If we win, then everything will be fine. But if we lose, the Green Fire World will die, and we will all die fighting. You must train these young disciples. In the future, you'll continue to fight the Jin Kingdom and bestow our wrath on them. Even if we're trapped beasts, we won't leave the Jin Kingdom peaceful on this battlefield in the following long years. I want to see those Jin Kingdom experts forever suffering from our wrath. I know. Palace Master Yun nodded gravely. They had already discussed the final battle. In this battle, all the top experts in the Green Fire World would fight with the Jin Kingdom, but however, Palace Master Yun had to stay. He had to govern the battle fortress and prepare for a future counterattack. Finishing his words, Samsara Temple Master took out 2 red gold elixirs. I have 2 elixirs. Samsara Temple Master spoke. These 2 red gold elixirs smelled disgusting like the smell of blood. Other palace masters all looked at the 2 elixirs. This elixir is called the Blood Fire Elixir. A long time ago, I found it on this battlefield and I got 4 of them. Samsara Temple Master continued, 5 million years ago, our Green Fire Palace has fought against them fiercely. We were supposed to lose that battle. In the end, we won and killed the Jin Kingdom monarch's 1 consciousness doppelganger because our then 2 palace masters consumed blood fire elixirs. The blood fire elixir will burn your cultivation and life so that you can put up a fierce fight. Of course, it can also make you have a greater strength in a short time. Now there are 2 blood fire elixirs left. I will take one of them. I wonder who wants to take the other. Samsara Temple Master smiled and looked around. Other palace masters all frowned. The blood fire elixir was so deadly that even these palace masters were a bit scared. But at this time, 3 figures darted out. They were Void Temple Master, Tang Emperor, and Red Lotus Palace Master. Perhaps those newly born palace masters feared this elixir, but they would not hesitate. Why? Are you 2 going to take away my elixir? Samsara Temple Master looked at the person next to Tang Emperor and Red Lotus Palace Master. Ha, I've already seen my best days. I'll never compare with the Jin Kingdom monarch. Now there's this opportunity for me to do something helpful, how will I give up? Tang Emperor smiled. I've lived my life. If I have one chance to surge my strength before I die, I'll happily take it. Red Lotus Palace Master also laughed. Void Temple Master, Tang Emperor, and Red Lotus Palace Master had prepared to die. Although they sounded casual, every one of them knew what it meant to swallow the elixir. Their strength would soar rapidly, but they would pay with their lives. Time waits for no one, I'll be the judge. Void, you've lived long like me, and your strength is better. I'll give you the elixir. We'll make the Jin Kingdom hurt. Samsara Temple Master said. Sure. Void Temple Master smiled and took the blood fire elixir. Tang Emperor and Red Lotus Palace Master exchanged glances and both sighed. Void, after I swallow the blood fire elixir, I will hold back the Jin Kingdom as long as possible. Then, when you've swallowed the elixir, you'll kill as many Jin Kingdom experts as possible. As for the remaining experts, you'll need to gain us time as well. We have to hold on until Jian Wushuang wakes up. Samsara Temple Master said solemnly. The present palace masters looked at Jian Wushuang unanimously. During their discussion, Jian Wushuang was still meditating. Seeing him, the palace masters all smiled. They knew very clearly that Jian Wushuang would be their last hope. As long as Jian Wushuang broke through, they would have the chance to turn the tables on the Jin Kingdom. Samsara Temple Master, the Jin Kingdom experts will soon bypass the battle fortress. Another palace master reminded. Samsara Temple Master's face became cold. If that's the case, let's fight to the death. Green Fire World soldiers, let's kill. Samsara Temple Master shouted the word, kill, emotionlessly. The soldiers in the battle fortress all echoed him roaring. Kill! 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 Their roaring could almost shake the world. On the perimeter of battle fortress, a portal leading to the outside appeared. In the Green Fire World, except Jian Wushuang and Palace Master Yun, all the top experts, all Palace Masters, Celestial Masters, and Dao Masters did not flinch from their enemies. Following Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master through the portal, they rushed outside to confront the Jin Kingdom army. Everyone had prepared to die. Everyone was crazy. They must fight against the Jin Kingdom to the death. Chapter 1236, Fight to the Death. Chapter 1236, Fight to the Death. Kill! With bursts of screaming, the Green Fire World experts ran out through the portal. The Palace Masters led the way, a number of Celestial Masters were in the middle of the parade, and finally, numerous Dao Masters in back formed tactical formations. Like a group of wasps, they flocked to the army of the Jin Kingdom. Oh! They actually came out. Hovering in the void, the Jin Kingdom monarch watched all this with a hint of a smile on his lips. He had been trying to find ways to kill all the Green Fire World experts inside the battle fortress. He wanted to get rid of any possible future trouble when he searched for treasure on this battlefield. However, now, they came out on their own. Well, if that's the case, I would have saved a lot of troubles. He smirked, and immediately ordered, kill them all. The Jin Kingdom army shouted receiving this order. They all looked very excited and bloodthirsty. They had been going in the direction of the Green Fire World. Now they immediately changed the direction and rushed toward the Green Fire World experts who just came out of the battle fortress. The two unmatched armies confronted in moments. Boom! 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 The thunder of roars sounded in the sky. The space shattered directly, and a large number of blast wave formed a horrible storm, rampant in the world. In the first round of confrontation, numerous experts from both parties died. Even 4 universe masters were killed on the spot. Humph. Samsara Temple Master was covered under a black armor, his body expanded and transformed into an ancient fierce beast. He snorted and slammed his giant hand, splash. A lightning-fast claw cracked the world and torn a universe master apart in its way. All the Gene Kingdom bastards should die. Covered in his black armor and overwhelming killing intent, Samsara Temple Master led the troops. He stormed through the Gene Kingdom troops and had been unstoppable everywhere. Besides Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master bore the same overwhelming killing intent. He held 2 gold wheels and had turned them into 2 flashes of lightning, sailing in the void and targeting at 2 universe masters. The 2 universe masters panicked and immediately tried their best to ward off the flashes of lightning, but still, one of them was seriously injured and even lost an arm. In a green robe, the indifferent and serious Jian Nantian stared coldly at a Gene Kingdom universe master in his way and raised his longsword. Dream chasing. Jian Nantian murmured. An explicable dreamy atmosphere spread out. It felt sorrowful, ethereal, but at the same time, it was so sharp that no one could stop it. Jian Nantian used to use the dream chasing to crush every obstacle in his way and reach the heaven-ceasing peak to find Ji Wumeng when the ancient demon clan were chasing after him. Now, he played the swordplay once again. Clang! An icy sword light shot out, without any trace of strong power. It silently appeared in front of the Gene Kingdom opponent, and then glided over him. With a streak of red color, the body of the Gene Kingdom Universe Master quietly fell down. Splash! A huge blood river pervaded the entire battlefield. Red Lotus Palace Master's eyes flashed fiercely. He was burning spiritual power to support the entire Jiuyu realm, trying to put any much pressure as possible on the Gene Kingdom experts. Of course, they were not alone. The Green Fire World experts had all tried their best by now. One by one, they rushed forward and fought the enemy fiercely. They were all trying their best. All of them. But at this moment, the Gene Kingdom monarch in the distance glanced at the huge battlefield in front of him. He slightly tilted his mouth and suddenly sprang out. He was extremely good at hiding himself. In the entire Green Fire world, nothing could detect him except Jian Wushuang's strength of soul. But now Jian Wushuang was meditating, thus no one was watching him anymore. Swoosh! He showed up on the battlefield out of thin air and happened to appear behind a Green Fire World Palace Master. It was Palace Master Su Qian. He was the upper elder of the Blood Azura clan on Samsara continent and was also Su Rose Master. He used to be a celestial master in Exceptional Realm. Later, he got a Nirvana elixir and became a universe master. At this moment on the battlefield, Su Qian's long hair scattered and his eyes were scarlet. He was fighting fiercely against the Gene Kingdom enemies. However, the Gene Kingdom monarch showed up so suddenly that Su Qian did not have the time to react. The monarch stabbed him in the chest. Before he made any sound, his life vanished. Palace Master Su Qian. The surrounding Green Fire World experts noticed him and became terrified. Be careful, it is the Gene Kingdom monarch. He came, run quickly. Roars sounded on the battlefield. Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master witnessed the killing as well. Samsara. Void Temple Master groaned. Leave him to me. Samsara Temple Master grunted. His eyes were the only things that were not covered under his armor, now they turned red. He opened his mouth and slammed the blood fire elixir into his stomach. He shook and doubled his body in size. Under the black armor, his face was completely distorted. His veins on the forehead, the arms, all bulged viciously. His pupils turned into blood red like a blood sea. At this moment, Samsara Temple Master had completely transformed into an ancient fierce beast. He fixed his blood sea-like eyes upon the Jin Kingdom monarch in the distance, and at the next moment he dashed out overwhelmingly. The Jin Kingdom monarch. Teeth gritted, Samsara Temple Master's endless resentment sounded throughout the battlefield. After the Jin Kingdom monarch casually killed Palace Master Su Qian, he looked at the nearby Red Lotus Palace Master. Red Lotus Palace could control the Jiu realm and put great realm pressure on the Jin Kingdom. At that moment, the Jin Kingdom monarch was about to kill Red Lotus Palace Master as he killed Palace Master Su Qian. But at this time, the resentful voice arrived. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.